I come up early in the game, I think it was like the third or fourth inning, and have a tough at bat and end up hitting a huge homer that ended up being a big one in the game.
Dude, when you click that ball, you're a young player, like you're getting your first taste of it, right? Like I watched it, like you click it, it's gone.
When you dream of playing in the big leagues, like, you don't really dream of like your debut. You dream of hitting a big homer in a playoff game. To get that opportunity in that moment, like, super special, super awesome, something I'll never forget.
I can't thank you enough for driving all the way up here to Argyle and coming on the show. We've had some awesome guests so far, but man, this is an episode that we've talked about for a little while, and I'm super pumped because, man, you've played a lot of baseball in your career, and you've had highs, lows, you've done it all. We got a chance to talk with a guy like Ian Kinsler, and I feel like you guys have very, very similar careers. But can't thank you enough for coming on another episode of To the Majors. And for everybody who's subscribed, for everybody who's engaged, commented on our stuff, we thank you. Please continue to do so. That's how we can continue to push our stuff out there and keep getting great guests like Matt Carpenter. But here's the intro. We got a 3-time All-Star, Silver Slugger, world champion.
I have a ring.
World champion. You're
yeah,
a world
we want to
champion.
ask you about that.
You are a world champion.
You're a world champion?
Depends on who you ask. Like, as a baseball guy, you guys know, like, I wasn't on that playoff roster, but I did make my debut that year. So got a ring. I don't like tell guys I'm a world champion because I wasn't on that team, but like,
You have the ring.
I have the ring.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing to have.
You're a world
It's
champion.
cool. Like, yeah.
You're a world champion. But you're definitely 2-time National League champion. Probably more important than anything, you're a Hall of Pretty Gooder as of 2025. I don't know if you follow that.
I
You're
heard
inducted
that.
to the Hall of Pretty Good. That's a pretty big deal, bro. Hall of Pretty Good. And you're a Cardinals and Yankees legend. We're going to dig into the Yankees part of that. I think it's no surprise for St. Louis, but Yankees legend too. The summer that was Matt Carpenter. But man, real quick, we like to start like a big moment. 2014. This is one of the moments I remember watching, and it was kind of like a holy crap, man, this guy is good. 2014, Kershaw, bases loaded. You absolutely pipe a ball in the gap in a really, really big spot. And then you have a guy like A.J. Ellis, who's played the game a long time, been a part of some great teams, just a baseball guy. He had a quote about you after that game. He said, "Carpenter is the epitome of a professional grinder. This guy is as tough of an out as there is in the National League."
Man, gives me chills. I appreciate that. I remember him saying that. And really, I mean, when you think of Kershaw and you think, the kind of pitcher that he is and the quality, amazing career that he's had, and just really the human he is, like, every time I stepped in the box against him, I knew I was in for like a battle, like equally tough-minded. Like, I knew he was going to come after me. And, especially in those days, like, I mean, I think, was that the year he might have won the MVP and the Cy Young? Like,
yeah.
He was at the top of his game. And, when you step in the box for him, my approach as a hitter was always like kind of like waiting around. Like, I was a very patient guy, and like I could not take that approach against him. He was coming after me, and I had to like take a different approach when I would face him. And so I just became super aggressive when I faced him in those moments. And then that particular at bat you're talking about, I can't remember the exact number, but it was a long at bat.
I think it was 9.
9 pitches, and just fouling pitches off, but like swinging early in the count and like getting behind, and then fouling pitches off and trying to just survive against the best pitcher in the game. But was thankfully enough in that moment to go to fight long enough to get a pitch that he threw 9 pitches, made 1 mistake, and was able to put a barrel on it and have a big moment in the postseason. And it was super super fun. And anytime you can have success off a guy like him, which is very rare, you take those when you can.
You guys had some absolute dogfights with LA in that kind of stretch right there. And obviously San Francisco was a monster there in the National League too. But I feel like it was a lot of times it was you guys and the Dodgers. Like you just somehow were meeting up. It was kind of like, you were talking about you grew up a Dodger fan, and there's a period of time there was like Dodgers Phillies, right? Like Dodgers Phillies, Dodgers Phillies, Dodgers Phillies. And then, we can, we're going to hit this later, but like, the Matt Adams homer, your double, those are such like monumental moments on both sides of it, right? Like Dodgers fans, you guys remember that just as clearly as
I
they
got to
do.
tell them, as a kid who grew up in LA, and I was a little bit out of my fandom at that point because I had been drafted. But on behalf of a lot of my friends, they were not a big fan of you for what you did and what the Cardinals did. And, that was kind of always the knock on Kershaw. Is you could sit here and say, even at that point, he was going to be the greatest pitcher of all time or one of the greatest pitchers of all time. And the knock on him was he just couldn't get it done in the postseason. And you would know better than us, but it felt like it always came down to one at bat. Like he was dominant, he was cruising, and then he ran into a guy like you, or he ran into a guy like Matt Adams, and the narrative totally changed. So just on behalf of my LA friends that are still there, they just want to say they disliked you very much.
You're right. I appreciate that. I guess I'll take that as a compliment. You're right about that. Like it felt like it was always like that. I honestly felt like it was one hitter too long. Like, they just left him in, or, he was, and now the modern game, they don't let you face that lineup third time through unless you're just absolutely rolling. But I can't blame, him or any manager that he had. Like I'd want Clayton on the mound for me in those moments, like, but it did seem like when we did get to him, it was late in the game.
Yeah.
After he had pretty much mowed through us. And then this one hitter just kind of comes up in a big moment late and then kind of changed the trajectory of the game.
I think when you hit that double, I remember watching it, and he was at like 115 pitches.
I mean, yeah.
He was at like 115, which back then, I mean, that was still like that's a heavy load for anybody. But I mean, there were guys back then, like you look at like what Verlander was doing, you look at what guys like Matt Cain was doing, what Kersh was doing.
Even his teammate Carp.
Yeah,
the other Carp.
I mean, Carp and Waino, like those guys were like, they just wore heavy loads. You don't see that as much, like a great example is like Blake Snell in the World Series against LA when it's like third time through the order, he's at like 87 pitches and they pull him out of there, and obviously there's a lot more data now that's helping these guys make decisions, but that's just kind of that was the role of an ace. You guys were in the postseason almost every year, and going in the postseason, you got to beat an ace or you got to beat a closer. Right. Yeah. And you guys did both, right? Like, that 2011 team, you beat Feliz, right? The 2014, you had to beat Kershaw, you beat Kershaw. And that's just kind of the way those long series, because it's, you got two great teams, down to the wire, you got to beat an ace, you got to beat a closer. The Cubs beat us in game 7 because they beat Kluber. They had to beat him one time. They faced him 3 times. They beat him one time, they win the series.
Yeah. Well, for sure. And, the thing I always get kind of like, annoyed with, I mean, the people that look at, Clayton and think like, wasn't able to get it done in the postseason, or like, that's the knock on him. It's like, man, like I look at, there's not a guy in that clubhouse that's ever played with him or put on a uniform in the Dodgers didn't want him to have that ball in those moments, even with 115 pitches on the pitch count that, like that's the guy you want on the mound in those moments. And it works out sometimes it doesn't, but we all know that's the game of baseball. But I don't think it takes anything away from what he was able to accomplish and the kind of pitcher he is. I mean, that's who you want with the ball.
You played with some guys. Like you played with Carp, who was like a monster. We had Carp on the show. The guy was an ultimate competitor. Waino, ultimate competitor, winner. You played with Garrett Cole in New York. I mean, you faced the best. Who is probably the most competitive guy you ever seen on the mound, right? Like take the stuff out of it, right? Like, but you take guys like today, like guys I think of are like Carp, Chris Sale is another one who's just like the ultimate competitor on the mound. But Kershaw, like he was a guy that like it could be 9-0. And if he's got a guy 1-2 and he's trying to execute a slider and he just like air mails one, like he is ticked, like doesn't take a pitch off, just like foot on the gas. Who is like you as a hitter looking out there? Who was the guy that you knew that like, man, we gotta grind it out today?
I mean, he was certainly like in the opposing dugout, I would say he's at the top of that list. Maybe number one. John Lester was another one that like John Lester was just the ultimate competitor. Another one that maybe doesn't get thought of as much, but played with him, played against him, and golly, he's at the top of the list too. John Lackey,
dude, yeah,
just
both of those guys were
incredible
dogs.
competitor.
Like, I can only imagine being those guys as managers, trying to go out there and like, hey man, like you're done, like give me the ball. Like I feel like Lackey, you know, whether it be Matheny or Francona or you know, guy in Chicago.
Who's there now?
No, won the World Series in Chicago.
Oh,
why am I? I'm
Joe
blanking.
Madden.
Joe Madden, yeah, Joe Madden, like going out there to take the ball from him every time. It was a freaking battle. Just like, dude, give me the dadgum ball. That's man, you're done.
That's how he was as a teammate, man. Like he was crazy. And then like from a teammate standpoint, I mean, like guys that I've seen like day in, day out. I mean, Big Carper you just had on, which I don't know how much I got to listen to that episode. Y'all did a great job with him. You've done a great job with all the guests, but the man, I've never played with a guy who like walked into a room and just like everyone just kind of like was like, you just knew when he had the ball that like it was like we better get it together today, like be locked in, like we have to bring as much energy and focus as this guy's got, you know, like you have to match this intensity or it's just not going to go well for anyone, you know. And like he was like feared but like respected. It was like this really unique combination in a clubhouse where like you were really like afraid of him but also like you loved him, you know, and you respected him. So like you wanted to do good. Wayno had a different approach. He was like kind of like the, you know, like more social, like very fun to be around, like fun loving, like super goofy, like on the day he wasn't pitching. And then on the day he pitched had that same kind of
intensity,
like switch. Yeah. He was like, man, well, here we go. Like this guy's locked in. We better be locked in too. So two different styles, but man, both super competitive. And I could probably say that, and I'm sure y'all feel the same way. Like you can kind of say that about all like true aces, you know, like Garrett Cole was that way. Like the true aces, that's how they are.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you become an ace solely on your stuff. I think it's a mindset that you have to have in order to be one of the best in the world. Because as you know, for all of us who played in the major leagues, like the gap between the best pitcher and maybe the guy who's going up and down is not that great. It's really a mindset, a work ethic. There's these intangibles that kind of separate those guys. But I want to take you back to the very beginning. You said you were born in Galveston?
Born in Galveston.
And then grew up where?
Grew up in Sugar Land, Texas, near Houston.
Yeah.
Son of a high school baseball coach.
That's right.
So picked up a baseball, I'm assuming, pretty early in your life. You were around it.
Yeah, real young.
Going to dad's high school practices as a little guy.
Living around the baseball field, living and dreaming. My goal really growing up was like, I wanted to play for him. Like that was kind of my big leagues.
That's cool.
You know, like I was like, my dad, you know, I'll give him a shout out. 40 years of coaching high school baseball. He's a Texas Hall of Fame coach. He was, you know, had an amazing career. I mean, honestly, from a, you know, high school standpoint, you know, different levels of baseball, but like his career was a lot better than mine as far as what he was able to accomplish in his profession. I mean, 5 or 6 state championships. Like I said, Hall of Famer. And so I looked up to wanting to, like, growing up, it's like, man, I can't wait to play for him and get to do that, which was luckily enough to do and win a couple state championships with him and be on the same field, which is still, you know, got to do a lot of fun stuff in a baseball uniform, is still at the top of the list of some of the most fun I've ever had.
Do you think having a high school coach as a dad kind of changed your perspective a little bit on where you wanted to go? I would imagine most kids like myself probably dreamed of being in the big leagues, right? Where you kind of talked about really just want to play for your dad.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there was some of the advantages of being a coach's son was growing up around the game, having appreciation for the game to start, you know, loving to work, you know, having, like, I've always had a good work ethic and being a coachable, just because I was raised there. Like I would hear conversations as a young kid of, like, you know, the players that he had that weren't coachable and why weren't they coachable and why they were hard to coach. And so then you learn that and you're like, all right, well, I don't want to be that way. And then, you know, talk about the players that he had that were super hard workers and players he admired and respected. And so you kind of learn, like, what kind of does a coach want? You know, this is my dad, but also a coach. Like, what kind of attributes does he admire in a player? So you naturally learn those things. I think that helped. But it also, one thing that my dad did a great job of was like, a lot of people that I talked to about having played for him or like grew up with a coach's son, they just assume that, we grinded and like he forced me to do these things. And like, this is, was really never the case. Like my brother didn't really love baseball. And so like, he didn't really do it that often as much as I did. I loved it from the time. So like, he never forced it on him. He never forced it on me. My brother got older and started to like it more and ended up playing in college and playing professionally. And, it took longer for him to appreciate the game, but he did a really good job with both of us of not like forcing us into it. It's like, hey, this is what I do for a living. And if you want to come hang out, we can do it. And, I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, definitely. And your mom was a softball player, correct?
No, she did play softball in high school, but she was actually my mom. Both of my parents were in education. My mom was a principal, and my dad was the coach and high school teacher. So grew up in that world of education and being around.
Dad had some job security.
Yeah. And if you got sent to the principal's office, you were double trouble. You were dealing with mom and the principal. So that was a little bit of a challenge.
Where did your dad spend? Because I know you said you were born in Galveston, but then you spent time in Sugar Land, Elkin High School, right?
Elkins High School.
Is that where he spent the majority of his coaching career? Was there?
So yeah, he started his first job when he moved to Texas. So both my mom and dad are from Ohio. My dad played college baseball at an NAIA school in Kentucky. My parents were married right out of high school at 18. They went to Georgetown College in Kentucky. Dad played baseball there, got done with baseball, decided he wanted to coach. Texas was like the hotbed for high school baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So him and my mom moved down here. He took a job at a small like 1A school in near Galveston called High Island. He was there for a year. Then he went to Lamarck and started kind of like having some success, and then moved into where the area where we grew up, which is Fort Bend Independent School District. Took a job at Dulles and then opened up Elkins and was there from 1993 when the school opened to 2008. So 13 years, the longest stretch where we won it in 95, 98, 2002, 2003 while we were there. And I got to play for two of those teams. One of those teams, in 2002, my sophomore year, we were the number one team in the nation. Are you guys gonna get to that?
No, it's on my list.
And,
go ahead.
We had three guys on that team make it to the major leagues. Myself, James Loney,
great player,
great Dodger, and then Chad Huffman.
Chad Huffman, I played with Huffy.
Yeah,
he was TCU guy as well, right?
TCU guy.
I was going to ask you too, before you mentioned those guys, there were some other big leaguers your dad had coached too.
Yep.
How beneficial was that for you as a kid? Maybe hearing the conversation your dad would come home to, maybe talk to you, or you just being around. Like, what were the kind of the things he would talk about these guys that eventually went on to play in the big leagues?
I mean, the thing that my dad did such a great job that like I didn't realize when I was a kid and growing up, and then even as a high school kid, I don't think I learned until I got to college and then got into pro ball was. And you guys know as well as I do, and anybody who's played at a high level, you realize like winning teams have a culture. Like there's a culture that is built. Like we had it in St. Louis when we were thriving there. Like, there's an expectation of culture, and like when new people come in, they just fall in line, and my dad did a really good job of building a culture at the programs that he had, specifically Elkins, where, we played really hard. We practiced really hard. He, held everybody to the same standard and accountability, and guys loved each other, and they all wanted to do it. And it started like how I was a kid, and Chad was a good buddy who I grew up with. Like we watched as junior highs kids, watching the older boys at the high school games and the way they practiced, the way they played. And like, we were ready and wanting to do that when we got there and like follow along with that tradition. And so I think that culture piece was huge. And, as I've gotten on, I've learned that that's really kind of at every level. Like if you want to be on a good team, like that culture is so important.
How was that? Talked about being a junior high kid, watching this culture that's established at this program your dad's coaching. What was it like when you entered high school? How was that relationship between dad and coach?
It was, it was great. The challenges were, early on, like as a young high school, like freshman, sophomore year, like some of the juniors and seniors, like were kind of like, kind of feeling me out, like, hey, what's this gonna be like? The dynamic was more awkward with teammates at the beginning, because it was like, because high school kids do dumb stuff, right? Like we're on the weekends, we're doing things we shouldn't be doing, and so like there was this dynamic of like, are you gonna go back and tell your parents what's going on here? Like, can I trust you? Type thing. That, and then also, I think what made it easy and what could have been awkward, like if I was like not a kind of a fringy player, that's, I think, would have been a strange thing. Luckily, like I was a good player and had the respect of my teammates, and then it made it easier on my dad. I always like, I think it would have been harder on him if like I was like a kind of like 9th, 10th guy on the roster. Like you're like, man, what I can play him, but like
does he deserve to be here?
Does he deserve to be here? So like that made it easier on him, I would imagine. We've talked about that, but as far as like our relationship, it was always great. I mean, my dad was my biggest fan, always supported me in a great way. He knows how to motivate me too. I can think of some times where, like he just got on me, and it's like kind of like whoa, where'd that come from? But you realize like okay, he saw something and it needed to be said, and he was right. So it was great.
You mentioned national championship. 2002, you guys won national championship. Dad wins high school baseball coach of the year too. What do you kind of remember about that season?
Man, that team, we were just so good and super talented, but super close. We had, I think, of the 9 position players that started on that team, every single person on that team played either Division I or professionally. Like all the way through. Like our shortstop went to A&M. I was the DH third baseman. Our second baseman was Chad Huffman, who played at TCU, went to the big, played in the big leagues. Our first baseman was James Loney, who was a first rounder that year. Could have went either way. A lot of people know this about him. He played 10 plus years as in the big leagues, a long time as the everyday Dodgers third baseman or first baseman. He was our ace, and it was literally like, depending on what organization drafted him, half of the teams were like, he's a pitcher, half the teams were he's a position player. He could really pitch.
Where was he signed? Where was he supposed to go to college?
Baylor.
Was he going to go there to play both?
Yes. He was going to be a two-way guy. And so I personally, as his teammate, thought he was a better pitcher than he was a position player. Like,
so he was a dadgum good first baseman.
Good first baseman, good hitter. But I just watched him mow down, everyone. So like, and he was still like learning. He was still gaining velo as time went on. Like he started throwing low to mid 90s as a senior, and like you knew that was going to go higher as he continued to grow and mature. But he had a really good feel for a changeup, command both sides of the plate. Like, and he was super competitive. So I thought he was going to be a stud. But Dodgers took him, made him a position player, and he had a great career. We had a guy named Wardell Starling, who signed in the 3rd round that year out of high school. Our number 3, who never got to pitch, he was a junior that year. The next year he got drafted. He played in the minor leagues. So, we were stacked and went 35-1. Only game we lost was to Joe Savory. Do y'all remember Joe Savory?
Yes, Rice legend. Yeah, dude, he was the man.
Yeah,
that dude. He was a two-way guy. Another guy like middle lineup bat. Do you remember him? Joe Savory, left-handed pitcher from Rice. First round pick by the Phillies, I believe.
Yep, made it to the big leagues with the Phillies.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that literally, like, he had the talent, he had the ability. Like, if he wanted to, he could just like throw his glove out there, and he was going to do well. Super good.
So we played. He went to a school called Lamar High School. We were undefeated at the time. It's the 2nd round of the playoffs. Joe beats us in game 1, 1-0. We just couldn't hit him, and then we ended up winning the next 2 and advanced to the next round. And that was our only loss on the year. And really, like, there wasn't many close games after that one. Like, we just kind of rolled through it. And we played like, you guys are experiencing this now, living in Texas. Like, the high school baseball here is really good. Like, we had to beat so many like guys that went on to play at a high level on the way there. We just were very fortunate to be a really, really good team.
Yeah. I mean, like athletics, here is definitely a big deal. So 2002 national champion, whole deal. You got all these guys going to these different places, right? You got A&M, you got Baylor, you got, guys going and playing pro ball. What was your goals for yourself coming out of high school, right? Because like, hey, high school's going to end. You got these guys going everywhere. I know you ended up at TCU, but was that choice number one for you?
No, it wasn't. So this is kind of where my story gets crazy. Like I made the varsity as a sophomore. Probably would have made it as a freshman, but I wasn't actually zoned to the high school that my dad went to. So I wasn't allowed. I was an inter-district transfer. I got to go there because my dad was the coach, but it's not where I was zoned. So part of the inter-district transfer rules is you can't make the varsity team as your first year at that school, which would happen to be my freshman year. So my sophomore, I was a 3-year starter at the school, and now I'm starting to have success, and our team's doing really good. We're playing, we won. My sophomore year we won the state championship. My junior year we come back, we win it again, back to back. My senior year we're lined up to do it again. Our ace ended up getting hurt, so we didn't do it. We weren't able to do it, but we still had a great season. And along this way, I'm starting to play select ball in the summer and getting some looks and playing well. Go to the area code games twice, and so now I'm getting heavily recruited. And so now that kind of was talking to you before, like the dream was to play for my dad. Well, that's happening. It's coming to an end, and now it's like, man, I'm getting recruited, and now it's like the dream of like, man, playing in the big leagues, like that's kind of like the next. That's what I want to do. Like, this is what I want to do. I want to play baseball at the highest level, and my number one was actually Texas. I wanted to go to Texas. That's where my dream kind of school was, and they were in the mix.
They were doing it back then.
They were doing it back then.
Augie's, like that was Houston Street, Drew Stubbs, all the guys, right?
Yeah. And so I was pumped, and so when I'm going through the recruiting process and they're in the mix and offering kind of the same deals as some of the other schools, I'm like, this is where I'm going. And my parents, thankfully, being the great mentors that they've always been for me, didn't let me like rush that decision, because I was ready. Like I was like, as soon as they were like even interested, like this is where we're going. We don't even have to go through this whole process. Don't need to go check out all these other schools. And so they ended up making me go and visit. I narrowed it down to 3. It was Baylor, TCU, and Texas. Okay. And Baylor was my first visit, Texas was my second, and TCU was the third. So I go to Baylor, and I'm like, oh, this is great, but I've already made up my decision. So go to Texas, get done with that, and I'm like ready to make my decision. My parents are like, hey, we're going to just honor our commitment. We're going to go to the TCU and check it out and go through that visit. And I went unwillingly, and I get done, and I'm like, man, I got some, like, this is going to be a harder decision than I thought. They kind of, blew me away there. I fell in love with the head coach who's now at Texas.
So Schlossnagle was there. Jim
Schlossnagle, which is just an incredible recruiter, and just I call him. I think he's the Nick Saban of college baseball. I mean,
really,
I really do. I mean, I don't know how much y'all follow college baseball, but he's taken 3 programs to the College World Series. Yeah, he's been there 7 times now. He's probably going to win it this year. I think they're going to win it this year. That's my call.
They got a really good team this year.
And he's showing no signs of stopping. So
was Tony Vitello there?
I missed Tony.
Okay.
Yeah, I just missed him. But yeah, so I forgot where I was going. I'm rambling.
So TCU, you take your visit and you're like, man, now you thought you were going to Texas.
Thought I was going to Texas. So I get done with the visit, and I sit down with my family, and we're going over like pros and cons of every school, and I'm writing down the pros of Baylor, and then the cons, and I've got a list of both. And I write down the pros of Texas, and I got the cons, and I got a list of both. And I'm going through the pros of TCU, and I'm trying to come up with the cons. I can't come up with any cons. The only one I can come up with is
it's not Texas.
Yeah. Well, I don't like the color purple. I was like, I can't do this purple thing. And now, 20 years later, it's the only color in my closet, really. Yeah. It's the love purple. So it ended up being the best decision I ever made.
I wanted to ask you something.
Awesome.
You mentioned something too about because we love touching on the youth side of sports too, and I know you're involved in the youth side of baseball a little bit, but how important do you think it was for you as a young kid to, I would say, have realistic goals as opposed to these long-term goals and kind of being in the moment? Because I think a lot of kids right now, and we see it, we all have young kids, we're around the youth game. It's like, especially for parents, they feel like their existence of their kids playing is to get to the major leagues as opposed to, hey, let's have these short-term goals. Like, let's be a really good player on this team. Let's get to the next level. Your goal was to play for your dad. And then once you got there, you realize, okay, there's maybe a dream after this, kind of having these short-term goals versus maybe your existence in life at a young age just to be a major leaguer.
Dude, I love that you say that. I'm convinced that is the right mindset to reaching where you want to go. Like I took that approach like all the way through pro ball. Like when I got drafted, my thing was like, man, I want to like get to AA. Like if I can make it to AA, like I'm gonna be proud of that accomplishment. And then you get to AA and you're like having success there, and it's like, man, if I can get to AAA, like that'd be a pretty awesome. I'm gonna feel good about that. And then you get to the big leagues, like I just want to make it to the big leagues. And you get to the big leagues and you're like, I want to be an everyday player. And it's like that next step. You know?
It's okay to move the goalposts.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to, and I love that you mentioned it too. You know, you talked about your teammates in high school being a little bit worried about what you were going to tell your mom who's at the school, your dad, like you still had time to be a kid. And it feels like a lot of times now our kids, they don't even have time to be a kid. It's baseball. That's all they're going to do. And we know the numbers are stacked against you to make it. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try or doesn't mean you shouldn't believe that you should get there. But I think there's so much value in being like, hey, let's just try to be the best player on my team this year. Let's try to be the best player in the league this year and then get to the next level, like these short-term goals. And once you accomplish them, just keep moving the goalposts as opposed to, I'm 8 years old, I'm playing in the major leagues and not even ever enjoying life, being a kid, you know, focused on what you're doing right now.
Man, dude, yes, I totally agree. I mean, I'm a son of a high school baseball coach who did it for a living. He lived that baseball was what he did for a living, and I never played baseball full year round, nonstop until I got to college.
No way.
I never played. I played all 4 sports when I was growing up. Up until I was 13 years old, I played soccer during soccer season, football during football season, basketball during basketball season, baseball during baseball season, and then when I got to 13 years old. I kind of just like soccer. Truth be told, I just wasn't very good at it anymore. Like I just became bigger and kind of heavier and slower. And like, it's like, I'm not good at this anymore. I don't want to do it. So dropped that one, continued playing basketball, football, and baseball. Then I got to my freshman year of high school and basketball and baseball ran into each other. So I was like, I'm going to drop that. But I continued playing football and baseball all the way through until I got to college where then it became full time. You know, like I played all the sports and I take that same approach with my son. My son's 8 and he loves baseball, but he loves soccer and he loves basketball and he loves football and we do it.
Yeah.
He does all of it. And so I say all that because I think what has happened recently, and I don't know how it got to this, but these parents think that like, if you're not doing this year round right now, you're getting left behind. And
that's 100%. That's exactly what it is.
It couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's so wrong actually. Like it's the furthest thing from the truth. That if your son likes baseball and he's good at it and he doesn't want to play anything else, that's one thing. Like if he's just truly committed, but if your whole thing is, if your mindset is, I got to put him in baseball and play year round because he's going to get left behind, I think you're so wrong about that. Like you can develop skills doing other things, playing other sports.
So part of this podcast was built out of that idea in addition to the storytelling part, but I always find it very interesting, not only the 3 of us sitting here who made it to the top of the mountain and had successful careers, but we're talking about a son of a high school baseball coach who didn't want his son to play baseball year round. It's like, and there's people out there that think they know better. You find that kind of interesting, right?
I find it so interesting. And here's the, like, we guys know this, like anybody who's played it long enough, you realize that like there is a time coming and you don't see it at a young age because like, and maybe you do if you're traveling. I'm just not in that world and you're traveling all the time and you're playing all these games, but like baseball is such a hard game that like you're going to fail and you got to have breaks from that. Like if you're constantly playing this game year round where there's so much failure involved, like it's just not only is it physically taxing on your arm and your body, and that's why there's so many injuries now, but it's mentally taxing. Like having that, like I used to love putting the bat away and then like picking up another sport and not having to think about it, you know, for a while, like just that reset.
Yeah. I mean, you think about how taxing, you know, it is on grown men, you know, to do it year round, like, you know, for like a long season, right? You talk about like the grind of a long season, the grind of the 162, or even in college and summer ball. And it's like, hey, let's take that same volume and let's apply that to a 9-year-old and see how they do. Right. And it's like, man, it's a pressure cooker, right? That just equals the burnout.
But isn't it crazy too? You mentioned that too, that even the best players in the world, meaning the guys that play in the major leagues, they even have an off season.
Yeah.
They take, you know, and it's gotten a little bit different now. It's become a little bit more of a full-time job in the off season, training and hitting stuff. But for me, even I would take at least 2 months off of hitting, you know, and it's like some of these kids are not even taking 2 months off. And we're talking about the best players in the world. We're talking about the 750 best players in the world will still, when the baseball season is over, they put their bat, their glove, their cleats away, and they don't pick it up for 2 months. They take a mental, physical break. Yeah, some people want to work out and do that stuff. You know, everyone has a different approach, but there's kids now that won't even take 2 months off. It's just like we have hitting lessons every week. We play games every day. It's insane to me.
Well, the burnout, to me, the burnout is inevitable when you take that approach. At some point, for every one of those kids, they will go to either their parent or whoever and just be like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
or it shows up in another way too. Sometimes it doesn't show up in like, hey, I need a break, or I want to quit. It shows up in like, you know, they're going to approach it like someone who hates school doing schoolwork, right? Where it's like, you know what, like I'll just, like they don't have that like kind of fire anymore, right? Like we're just like, man, you know, like my son's 8, you know, I mean, we played against you guys, but like those kids right now at this age, man, like they sleep with their bats, right? Like there's that, like, dude, there's this like love of the game, and like that evolves as you grow. If you still have that love, right? It's like, man, I want to go hit. I just want to go hit, right? It's like, dude, like, you know, you call them baseball rats, right? Like being a baseball rat is born out of love for the game,
for
right?
sure.
I was going to say too, I feel like we have some similarities in this, and on that topic, you go to TCU and you commit to baseball for the first time in your life. Very much similar to me. When I went to school, it was the first time that I wasn't playing multiple sports. Even in high school, I played 3 sports all the way till my senior year. So I get to college and I'm only playing baseball for the first time. And you talked about not having this burnout, this love and passion. I'm like, man, this is the only thing I get to do now. Like I loved it so much, and it was easy for me to want to work at it.
So this is part of my story. So I get to college, the thing that happened to me was I always loved the game. And what I didn't ever really have, because I played all the sports, was like an off season of like, okay, now we're going to work out and train and do all stuff. Like I never really lifted weights. I never really took care of like the things that like we all know now. Like, do you want to play this game for a long time? Like really kind of non-negotiables, taking care of your body, making sure you're training, all those things. I get to college and like had never really done that. So like that was a really like eye-opening, awakening period for me, because I just had never done that. And I was way behind in that regard. My body was like kind of out of shape. And I got to college and kind of like, man, in between the lines, I was great. But all the other stuff that like you got to do as a student athlete, like I really like slipped up on for the first couple of years. And it kind of segued into a great deal of underachievement. Like when I don't know if y'all even know this, but I was at TCU for 5 years.
Yeah.
And the first 3 did not go well. Freshman year, I came in as a top recruit, was supposed to be hit in the middle of the order and play third. And like I split time. My sophomore year, I played and did okay. I mean, I hit for a decent average, but I think I hit 1 home run.
Yeah, you hit 1 home run your freshman year and 1 homer your sophomore year.
And by the way, this is like the old hot bats, like the bats that
the
were
pre-BB core bats.
The pre-BB, like these bats were juiced. And so like just super, super underachieved. And then my junior year, I come back. And by this point, after, a lot of goofing off for those first 3 years, I had gained a lot of weight. I was up to about 240. And not like heavyweight. Like I played at the big leagues level mostly, but fluctuating somewhere between like 207 and 215. pretty like lean though. And I was 240 and like not strong. Like I was heavy. You can imagine probably, I mean, I never did my body fat percentage, but I would imagine it was like over 20. And it might maybe been higher, but, and so then I come back after my junior year and I'm headed into my junior year. And by the way, all of my class that year, it was Jim Schlossnagle's first recruiting class at TCU. Like we had some dudes and I was supposed to be one of the top ones. Well, all these guys are getting phone calls from Major League Scouts and like we're prepping for this junior year and they're all having conversations like going off. I'm getting nothing. Like no one's talking to me. I end up blowing out my elbow in the right before the spring of right before the season started, and end up having to get Tommy John surgery, which again, another one of those things that ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. But I'll get to that in a second. So I sit out that whole season. My entire class gets drafted, goes on to play pro ball, and I come back and I'm still at college. And like that was the moment that hit me. Like I'm hurt, I'm out of shape. I had this dream of being a major leaguer, and all the guys that I like came to school with, like, we're going to be here for 3 years. We're going to go off and play pro ball. They all went and did it, and I'm still here. And I'll never forget, I had a meeting. My head coach, Jim Schlossnagle, calls me in his office, and he basically sat me down and was like, I mean, just had a really hard conversation. Like, hey, the guy we recruited, like, you're not the guy that we thought you were. You know, this is, you know, you've got a lot of changes that you need to make. Like if this is what you want to do, if you're serious about being a baseball player and you want to, if this is, you know, the route that you want to go, which I think it is, then you're gonna have to make some changes. And so, man, I left his office just like a broken spirit. Like I just literally like crushed to the soul. I mean, he struck a chord in me, not only him, but like what it all led to that moment. Mm-hmm. Right. You know, I'd come here and just hadn't had any success and didn't, you know, just kind of at a fork in the road of my baseball career. So, you know, between his conversation and really, you know, truly leaning into my own faith, you know, I walked out of his office that day and just changed everything. You know, I fully committed myself to the weight room, fully committed myself to the classroom, fully committed myself to, you know, diet and nutrition. And you know, it really jump-started my career. You know, that moment, like I just kind of started, you know, trending this way and had a good junior year. Didn't start off great. You know, got off to a really cold start that redshirt junior year, but finished strong and then came back as a redshirt senior and played really well. And, you know, but I say all that, and I still never really had a phone call or an agent or any kind of like interest in scouts. I played the last game of my college career in the super regionals at Dish Falk in Austin versus UT, game 3. I had a good series. We get beat. I walked off the field. I'm hugging my parents, and I thought that I had played my last game. I mean, I really thought that was the last time I'd ever played baseball. I had no reason to believe that I was going to get drafted. There was no conversations with anybody. You know, so I thought that was it. You know, luckily it wasn't.
During that time between you come back healthy as a redshirt junior, do you go play summer ball anywhere?
No.
So no summer ball either. So no exposure there. So you just commit yourself to the weight room. You probably stay around. Your dad's playing a big part in this. Or did your dad kind of stay? And what was that relationship like during the time of your first couple years, being the son of a high school baseball coach? You talked about him being a huge mentor in your life. Did he do a good job of removing himself as the coach and just being your dad and allowing Jim to kind of be your coach and your mentor? Was he still there for you as a coach as well?
My dad, to his credit, was incredible. Like all the way through college and even into the big leagues. Like he was always there for me when I needed him, but like he also knew that like being a coach, like he knew I was in another program. I had coaches, like they were, you know, he kind of let them do their job. And then flash forward to like, as a big leaguer, like I got to a point where, you know, my knowledge of hitting in the game had exceeded his. And, you know, when I would struggle or like he just had a really good balance of like, hey, I'm here for you if you need to talk, but I'm not going to like overstep, you know, or get in the way of what you're trying to do. So he was great. I mean, really what it came down to was like, I personally needed to make some life changes. I personally needed to mature. I personally needed to like grow up. And, you know, and that's why I'm so thankful for I went back to that. This best decision I ever made was to go to TCU. I was so fortunate to be at a school and playing for a coach where I had the luxury to like have that time to grow. If I'd have been at Texas and gone through what I gone through, they'd have just shipped me out and got a JUCO kid in there that was going to do the things that they needed him to do right away. But I was on a big scholarship at an up and coming program where the guy, like, he needed me to like develop into what he thought I could become. So I had that time to do it. So it ended up being a huge blessing that I was there at that university. And I'm forever, indebted to my time at TCU. That's why I love it so much.
Before we get to when you find out you get drafted, you talked about your kind of growth in college too, and back to kind of the youth side of sports too. How important do you think it is? And I feel like a lot of kids now get caught up in this idea of, I want to go to Texas, I want to go to Vandy, but more than likely they're not going to get a chance to play. How valuable was it for you to not only play, but fail and then have the opportunity to, play again once you kind of make those changes?
It's so valuable. I mean, so I think for me, one of the reasons why I didn't know it at the time, but why my parents were kind of pushing me towards going to a place like TCU is probably looking back on it. No, they knew that like I probably needed some time to grow up. I probably needed some time to have a safe place to fail and to go through the ups, some struggles, and a place that I like was gonna, have some opportunities to play. Like going to Texas might have not had the same opportunity to like jump in and play right away, but at TCU, like I had a little bit more of a roadmap to like get some playing time, and then also not only just get playing time, but struggle a little bit, and then have to work through it. And it's like there was a longer leash there at TCU than it would have been at some other places. So I think that was super valuable, and I think that for any like young kid that's making that decision, like when you like, sometimes it's not always the sexiest place that you want to go to, but like playing is like probably the most important. Like going with somewhere where you can play and develop and grow and mature. Like that would be my advice. That's going to be my advice to my son if he has that opportunity. It's like, hey, let's go where you're going to get an opportunity to play and develop it, and grow as a baseball player.
Hey, High Point, pretty sexy place.
High Point is really nice too. Like your recruiting story about like, obviously yours had a lot to do with the coach. Mine did too, but like I went to High Point University. I got cut from my first college, so I got cut. I went to UCF, University of Central Florida, out of high school. The staff that recruited me, they all got fired after my freshman year. New guy comes in. I blow out right before the season starts. He lets me go. Basically, he's like, hey, I need your scholarship, right? Like, 11.7 scholarships for 30 guys. You're on a big one. I need it. And I didn't recruit you. So, and this is back before transfer portal, all that stuff, right? Had to go to JUCO for a year. So my JUCO year, I'm rehabbing. I pitch a little bit. I go around, I take some visits, some schools. Virginia Tech, and High Point was the third school I was going to visit. And the only reason I had High Point on there is because of the coach that recruited me to go to UCF is now the head coach at High Point at the time. His name is Craig Cozart. His son is Sam Cozart, who's the current closer at UT.
Wow.
Yeah, the kid, he's like the freshman pitcher of the year.
Yeah.
And so, I love the guy. I think the world of him, but I'm like, man, I'm not going to freaking High Point. But I'll give you a visit, right? It's my last one. I go to Virginia Tech, have a great visit at Virginia Tech. ACC, up-and-coming program. They're playing well. They offer me a big scholarship. And my dad kind of does the same thing where he's like, hey, don't do anything. Make sure you give High Point their visit, right? You at least you owe it to them, right? They get me on campus. I'm like, this place is pretty nice. This place is really nice. And then, obviously the coaches and the feel and everything there. And that was probably, I do believe like that was like Lord's protection over me because I went there. I got to play for a great coach. Nothing against Virginia Tech. Those guys had a great program. But I was supposed to go to High Point. And that year that I spent there maturing and being under this guy's guidance, kind of like you with Schlossnagel, like being like basically challenging me and giving me kind of like a wake-up call, because that's what it sounds like you were given a wake-up call and an opportunity to be like, hey, this is who we recruited, this is who we've gotten, when you're going to show up, right? And so you get an opportunity, you go out there, you have a great senior year, you think your career's over, and then you get another opportunity. You get drafted in the 13th round by the Cardinals. Are you doing anything on draft day? Are you having like a little party at your house with your family, or like what's going on there? This is back when you're probably just watching the computer.
That's exactly right. So I'm packing up my college house, like loading it up and putting it all in boxes, and I'm throwing it in a U-Haul, and that U-Haul is headed to my parents' house. My dad and mom live in Prosper at the time. My dad's the head baseball coach at Prosper High School at this time. And I'm like, well, this is it. We're going to load up. I'm going to move into them until I move into my parents' house until I can figure out what I'm going to do next. I'm probably going to get into college coaching. Mm-hmm. I've got some, relationships there. I'm going to kind of get my bearings and then make a few phone calls and we'll get this going. But I had the last thing I have packed up, the last thing I'm going to pack up is my computer and my desk. I have my computer on and my desk on, and I've got the draft going, and it's just kind of rolling.
Yeah.
And so I'm like holding out hope that and this is back, now, how many rounds are there now? Like 10?
13, I think 20.
Well, this was back when,
50.
They had a lot. So I'm like, maybe there's gonna be a chance I'll get one late. Like I'm hopeful. I'm not like completely convinced that my career is over, but I'm certainly like prepared for it, thinking that there's
still no conversations, no I even got like some envelopes at the school I had. I mean, they weren't like phone calls, but like I would get like an occasional like envelope, fill this out.
You got to fill out something for the scouting bureau.
Yeah.
So we like at our school, and I don't know if it was like at every school, but like the guys that were, the prospects or people who were getting like those teams would come. And then like after practice, like those guys would go sit and talk with them. Like that wasn't happening for me. Like, so I just didn't know how it worked. Like I wasn't having any conversations. I had all these guys had agents too. Like I've got no agent. Like I'm a 5th year senior, and I was also kind of realistic. Like I'm a 5th year senior. I'm 23.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not super hopeful, but I'm also holding out hope. And so it's the thing's running. I'm packing up my house, and my phone rings, and it's my aunt. And she's like, congratulations. And I'm like, what? And I like run over to the computer. My computer at like college Wi-Fi is like not loading. And she had already seen that my name had come up. She's like, you just got drafted. And I'm like, what? In the 13th round to the St. Louis Cardinals. And like mine's on the 12th still. And I'm like, what? And I'm like hitting refresh. And then here it comes. My name gets called up. And so that's how I found out. I'm packing up my college house, about to move into my parents' house. I get a phone call from my aunt that says you just got drafted. I don't even think I heard from the guy who drafted me until like the day later. I didn't even believe it. Like I still was like,
yeah,
did this actually happen?
Yeah. Well, you were just waiting to see if they were like, yeah, we're just gonna take that one back. We'll just put that one back in our pocket.
Yeah. So like a day or two later, I finally get a phone call, and the scout who drafted me is like, hey, congratulations. Are you ready? We're going to send you to Batavia, New York. Your bag's all packed. I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's go. So
Muck Dogs.
That's kind of how it started. Yeah.
The Muck
That's
Dogs.
insane.
I played in the Penn League.
And you want to talk about some similarities. Yours might have been a little bit bigger than mine because of the state taxes in Texas, but we both signed for $1,000. That's true.
Let's go.
You might have made a little bit more.
What was it, like $600 afterwards?
Yeah, mine was like $543, I think. Yeah. California.
Did the Cardinals give you a glove or a pair of cleats when you got there?
No.
They give you nothing?
I had $600. That was it.
Man,
my parents bought
they
my
gave me a
bats.
pair of cleats.
Like I had no money.
Wait, so your aunt calls you, you're refreshing it, but you don't get a phone call. So you just your parents are there helping you pack up from college. So like you tell your mom and dad, like, I think I just got drafted. Like I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, okay, let's pack up the U-Haul, let's go home, we'll figure it out.
Well, I mean, I call my dad. He's super pumped. He's, coaching in Prosper. Tell my mom, they're all excited. But yeah, I mean, like, I knew it happened. I saw it, it was on there, but like, it didn't really feel real until you get a phone call like from the organization, like planning here's where you're going to need to be. Here's the flight. Like, cause I didn't, it's not that I thought it was a mistake, but you're also like, someone's got to call me, right? Like at some point we got to talk to somebody or this isn't real. So, yeah, that's kind of how it played out.
So you end up in
That's
New York.
awesome.
Short season ball?
Yeah, they sent me to short season, low. What is
rookie
that?
ball,
Rookie
rookie
ball.
ball?
A
Yeah,
ball.
it's
ball?
a Penn League, short season.
Is
A
it
ball.
your first year you go 3 levels though?
Yeah, it's
So
kind of a crazy
okay,
story.
tell us.
So I get there, and so I'm a 13th rounder. I'm 23 years old. I'm 5th-year senior.
You're playing with a bunch of kids, huh?
It's like nothing but kids. It's all 18-year-olds. There's guys that have been drafted in the first round, and there's guys that are
From the Dominican Venezuelan league.
and there's guys that have got a lot more money on the table than I do. And
Yeah.
anybody who I think maybe not all the listeners understand this, but like you guys understand this, and anybody who's been in a professional organization understand this, especially at the lower levels of the minor leagues. Where you get drafted and the amount of money they have invested in you dictates who's playing and who's not playing.
Yeah.
You know, so like you do get to a point in professional baseball where that kind of gets, you know, you reach a level where that's no longer matters. But at the very low levels, it's like the kid who's a first rounder who they got a bunch of money in is going to play.
Yeah.
Regardless of how it's going, you know? So I get there and it was very clear to me at like very early, like that I was like the last guy on the totem pole was when it comes to playing time. And so I show up and I'm like kind of, you know, I'm 23 and I'm with all these younger guys and I've been around baseball long enough that I kind of get a feel for it. Like I'm not going to play much. Like I'm going to get like that, like, you know, every third or fourth day start, I'm going to pinch hit some, like that's going to be my role. Like this is what it is. Thankfully, our manager, Mark DeJean, great guy, had a rule like outside of this organization. It was his own personal rule. He's like, listen, I've got my organizational stuff that I got to play these guys certain things, but I've got 2 rules. If your parents are coming, if you've got your mom and dad traveling to come watch you play, like you let me know, I'll put you in the lineup. That was one rule he had. The other rule was regardless of who needs to play or what, if you play and you get 2 hits, you're in there the next day, regardless.
You
So
don't sit.
that was his rule.
So you don't say, huh?
You don't sit.
Yeah, you don't say. All right.
So I get there, like, you know, we're there for a couple weeks, like preparing for this start of this season. And, you know, I'm taking the same mindset that I had towards the end of my college career. Like I'm getting after it. I'm there early. I'm the first guy there that walks, you know, if they say we got to be there at 12, I'm there at 10:30, you know. If, you know, first guy's leaving at whatever time, I'm 2.5 hours later. That just kind of became my MO as a player, like get there early, stay late. And, you know, just trying to make a good impression, but also like that was like my mental edge as an athlete. Like it was like, I'm putting in the work, I'm grinding, I'm outworking you. Like that's kind of like what I do. And so I get there and I'm not in the lineup for the first couple of days, like not playing. And
Are you like, I need to call my parents? They need to get here now.
Yeah.
So they had a trip.
I need you in the lineup. Mom, Dad, I need you here now.
They had a trip coming up. So I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, all right, they're going to be up here soon. Like I'll get some opportunities. Well, it's like the 4th game. Like I get to DH. And so I'm like pumped. Like, all right, I get to play. If I find a way to get 2 hits, I might be on there the next day. So I DH and I think I went like 1 for 3 or 1 for 4. 1 for 3 with a walk or 1 for 4. So lineup comes out the next day. I'm not in the lineup. And then like the next day, I'm not in the lineup. And we're leaving. I can't remember exactly what day it was, but we're about to leave to go on a road trip. Bus is at like, I don't know, 8 a.m. and we're hopping in the road and we're driving to the next stadium. Well, you know, I get there early. I'm, you know, first guy on the bus, and the prospect who actually played in front of me, he was late for the bus that day. And so the manager pulled him out of the lineup, puts me in the lineup. I get 2 hits. So I get to play the next day. I get 2 hits. I get to play the next day. I get 2 hits. I got 2 hits for like 11 straight days. It was like the hottest I've ever been as a
Wally
player.
pipped him.
Wally pipped
And
him.
I get a phone call after like 3 weeks and I get promoted. I go to low A. I'm there for a month, played really well, get promoted. And then I finished the season in high A. So I hit 3 levels that first, like that right after that super regional at Texas, get drafted. I hit 3 levels that summer.
That's insane.
And high A is probably where you start playing with guys like close to your own age. Maybe.
I felt like high A was the first time that like the first level that I was like, this is like, I feel like I'm facing a quality Friday night college player every night.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was y'all experience, but I when I talk about the minor leagues, like the levels before high A, I felt like if you played really high end like Division I baseball, like maybe in the SEC or Big 12, like those levels are kind of better than those levels.
Yeah.
You get to high A and it's like you're starting to face like that Friday night stud, pretty consistently. And then double A is like where you're like, everybody here has the talent.
Good.
Everybody here has the talent to play in the big leagues.
Everybody's good. Yeah. That was kind of, so I remember thinking to myself, granted, I was completely different spot. Like you guys were everyday players, right? I was bullpen guy out of the draft, right? 23rd round. Hey, get to Mahoning Valley. We're sticking in the bullpen. And I was another guy. I finished that year in double A, my first short season. And one of the best things that happened to me, because that was back when they had like the signing deadline was like August 15th, right before kids went into school or whatever. And a lot of your top end guys, man, they'd take it down to the wire. Whereas a guy like me, it was like, hey man, like here's some money and a contract. Either take it or we're giving it to the next guy. I was like, well, I'll take it. So I got a head start, right? I was there pitching before the guy from UVA or the guy from Florida State or the guy from Texas. Like they were all negotiating contracts and I was getting innings. And so, but I think what I remember seeing is the lower levels, there's talent at every level, right? Like I'm a firm believer that like pretty much every guy I played with in minor leagues, 90% of them had the physical ability to play at the big league level. Like 90% of them did. But those, short season, low A, high A, there's a lot, like there's a massive learning curve of just learning how to play every day, learning how to travel well, learning how to get your body ready, learning how to, keep your arm in shape so you don't flame out in August. You know what I mean? And then you get to double A, there's that saying back then, it was like, now it's 100, but back then it was like, there's more guys in double A that throw 95 than there are in the big leagues. And then like, you start getting into like the finer details of the game, like the nuance side of the game, where the guys who like, it was awesome. Like we got to talk to Kinsler and the way he like views the game of like, how does this guy go first or third, right? How does this guy, position himself defensively after reading swings, what does this guy do to separate himself? Cause I'm pretty sure all of us at some point, we got to a level where you look around and you're like, everyone's good. Like everyone here is good. It's not like the best players go up. Now it's like, okay, what's the separator? Like what is the separator? Because it's not talent, because everyone here's got it. And I think double A was really that first level for all of us where you're looking around and you're like, dude, everyone here can play.
So I totally agree. So one thing that I think I was super lucky, and part of what makes my story like who I am and like the player and person that I became unique was that happened to me much earlier. Like I think that like you really want to be a great baseball player, or really just like you want to be great at anything. Like when you learn how to fail and like when you go through hard things and struggle and then overcome it, like that's where the sweet spot comes. Like that's where the real growth and like the real change happens. So like for me, like going to college, like and failing and struggling and thinking my career was over and borderline getting kicked out of the program and like gaining a bunch of weight and then getting hurt and then like watching all my peers go on and do what I wanted to do, which is go play professionally. Having that happen at a young age was so huge for me because I had to overcome that. Like I had to fight through that and, build grit and learn how to, handle adversity. And I watched a lot of professionals who were way more talented than I was that never learned how to fail. Like when they never failed until they got to the big leagues, and like, that's like a hard place to learn how to fail.
That is not, there's no developing in the big leagues, right?
I see this now. Obviously it's different looking back on it, much similar to all of us. And yes, we would have liked to have much bigger signing bonuses. It's a nice thing in life to have, but I think all of us, when there's not that expectation from the organization for you to do certain things, there's a little bit of freedom in that. It develops this kind of chip on your shoulder. And like you said, we all failed previously. I mean, I'm a Division II guy. So like the idea of me even being in like the clubhouse in professional baseball was like crazy to a lot of people, but I had this belief in myself, and then I failed immediately right away. And then it wasn't like they really cared. It was like what they expected. So it was like, okay, it was me versus the entire world. I took this mentality, but I would also say this idea of when you're a little bit older and they don't have a lot invested in you, when you do start to find success, they rush you fast because it's like sink or swim, buddy. We don't have a whole lot and we're going to figure it out real quick. If you can handle the next level, you talked about even your first year going from short season to low A to high in the first year. And a lot of it is because of what you went through, but also the maturity that you had to understand that I'm going to be ready when my opportunity came. You know, I was a 32nd rounder, you know, $1,000 signing bonus. I didn't play for like the first 5 games I was in professional baseball. And then I got, you know, an opportunity to start. And it was like, I think I like ran into the outfield wall the first time. I don't even know if I got any hits, but it was like the idea like, hey, this guy wants it. We're going to give him another opportunity. You know, very similar to what you talked about. You understood that if I got hits, I was going to play. And then you move real fast. But you go into that next year, you go back to Palm Beach, which is high A. You're only there 28 games and you have a 441 on base percentage and you get promoted to Double A.
Yeah. So I go to my first spring training. I felt like I had a really
minor league spring training.
Very first minor league spring training. Very first spring training as a professional. I'm in the minor leagues. I played what I thought I had a really good camp. I thought I was deserving of making the Double A roster, but you know, didn't. And looking back on it, like you start when you're young, you don't realize it. When the older you get in the game, you realize like how the organization works and there's roster construction and who needs to go there and why and you learn. And so looking back on it, I realized like, yeah, there wasn't a fit at the time. So I needed to go there back to high A. So I went to high A, got off to a good start. Roger Dean Roger Dean Stadium where high A is, where the Cardinals do their spring training is, I think it's the worst ballpark in professional baseball. Have you ever played there?
I have.
I mean, it is horrible place to hit. The worst. And I felt like I was just tearing the cover off the ball. I had a high on base percentage. I can't remember. What did I hit? 280 something?
Yeah.
And not a ton of damage, but I had a hitting coach there who I liked a lot. His name was Jeff Albert. He ended up making it to the big leagues as a hitting coach, but he kept telling me like, dude, just keep doing what you're doing. If you get, when you go to Springfield in Double A, like you should just stay the exact same. Like you're going to pile up numbers. It's a way better place to hit, blah, 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 blah. So I believed him. And I think, what'd you say? 28 games later, I got called up and I ended up, I almost won the batting. I did not win the batting title, but I almost did. And ended up playing great, finished super strong, and won the Cardinals minor league player of the year that year.
Yeah, 105 games, 316, 26 doubles, 12 homers, 11 stolen bases. Mid-season All-Star, postseason All-Star, and then the Cardinals minor league player of the year.
That was it. I mean, that was the moment. So you talked about like Double A being the first time where you see guys and you're like, dude, everybody here is good enough to play in the big leagues. So to have that success there, that was a huge like confidence booster to me. It's like, oh, okay, man, I might be able to do this. Like this is like, I might have a chance to play.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I feel like everyone kind of has that moment before that actual moment happens, but the success you had there in Double A and then winning the minor league player of the year, do you feel like at that point, like, okay, I got a legitimate chance to be a big leaguer?
I do. I did. I was like, that was like wow, this is, hard work's paying off. I feel like there's a real opportunity here. And then, so when this was kind of a funny story, cool story. So when I accepted that award for minor league player of the year, it was in St. Louis at their baseball writers dinner that they have every year where they honor like players from the past, but also the major leaguers from that season and all this stuff. And Jeff Lunau was our scouting or was our head of the minor leagues at that time. Farm director. Yeah. And he was the one presenting the award at the banquet to me. And I'll never forget what he said. He validated everything that I thought was true. But he said it. I mean, he was like, hey, look, this next guy was a guy that we took a flyer on. He was an older player that had a good career. And, in the minor league levels, especially at the lower levels, like you build rosters, you try to fill spots, but, we knew he was talented and, they had the metrics, the way I got on base to evaluate and get me where they got me. But, they were taking a flyer on a guy that was older and, he kind of just hit his way into, a real role. And that gave me a lot of like confidence too. It was like they saw what they saw in me, but then I had to go out and prove it. And I started to prove it and kind of validate what they saw. And it made me feel good.
So 2011, you get your first invite to spring training. Tell us what that experience was like. Any guys take you under their wing? What was kind of like that first big league impression of someone that you ran into where you're like, oh shit, I'm in the clubhouse with this guy? And did they tell you going into spring training that year that you were competing for a spot? Did you know that?
No, I had no idea. And I mean, it was just the whole experience was just a complete whirlwind. And like,
you'd be what, 25 at this time? 24?
I think I'm 24, maybe 25.
Okay.
Dude, you're walking into a clubhouse with
clubhouse.
It's Tony La Russa's clubhouse, right?
Tony La Russa's
I mean,
manager.
you got like Arthur Rhodes is on that team,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That guy's played for 30 years, right? Like you've got Yachty, Albert, Wayno, Lance Berkman's on that team.
Berkman.
You being a Houston kid, like that was probably, sharing a clubhouse with Berkman, you're probably like,
dude,
it's
like
what the hell am I doing
Jesus,
here, right?
right?
Like,
seriously. And not to mention, like, you got to remember, like, I'm a baseball rat. Like, I love it. I grew up around the game. I was the kid who slept with this bat. I watched baseball every night. Like, I loved the game. I knew the history of the game. I cared about the former players. Like, we all played with guys that were really good and played for a long time that couldn't tell you anything about former players or past players. Like, I was not that guy. Like, I was obsessed with the game and the history of the game. So not only the names you just mentioned, but I'm walking into the clubhouse. This is like Ozzie Smith is in uniform standing there. You got Red Shandies, Lou Brock, Bob Gibson. Like
Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson's. I'm sitting in the dugout as the number 92 guy who's gonna come in to give
the Jick.
Albert a break.
The Jick, just in case guy.
Yeah. I'm giving the guy when the studs come off the field, like I'm coming in. So I'm sitting there in the dugout next to Bob Gibson for 5 innings, picking his brain. It was, when I say that was like the most fun I've ever had, like the most exciting, like I felt like I'd never stop smiling. Like I was
That's awesome.
Truly just like in heaven throughout that first camp. Like I told you how I was like about getting there early and staying late. Like that's just kind of who I was, but like it was on another level when I was in that big league camp because I didn't want to leave. Like I just wanted to be around them.
I was going to ask you too. It made me think of something. So you talked about you being this baseball junkie, this baseball rat, understood the history of the game. Were you even more excited to know that you were going to the Cardinals because of the type of player you thought you were or the player you thought you would become because of, the understanding that the Cardinals kind of always had this history of the Cardinals way and like grinders and hard workers? Did that excite you or it was more just about the opportunity?
It was both. So to be completely frank, like growing up as an Astros fan, watching the Cardinals beat us all the time, like that Albert Homer off Brad Lidge, like just like etched in my brain. So the initial reaction was like, like as an Astros fan, it was like, this is our like rival team that we don't, and then, but it immediately went to like, what a great opportunity. What a historic franchise. What a great fan base. Like what a perfect fit for me and the kind of player I was. So yeah, all those things.
So I mentioned you didn't know you were competing for a starting spot. At some point, does that conversation come up because, or was that even looking back on it, were you actually competing for a spot?
I don't think so. I think it was similar to kind of how my minor league career went. I think I got invited because I was the minor league player of the year, but I was the last guy. I wasn't on the 40-man roster, which we all know how that goes. Like, if you're at big league camp and not on 40-man, like you're not really competing for a spot.
There better be a lot of people get hurt.
So I was the guy that like came in to get a pinch hit here and, fill in late and like I'd get my opportunity and bang, I'd get a hit, or, then I'd get a random start and boom, I'd go 3 for 4. And then, then like I'd got a little bit more playing time and I'd do well. And then next thing you know, I'm looking around and like they cut all the guys that are on the 40-man that weren't on the 40-man roster. There's nobody left in there but me that's not on the 40-man roster. And then.
And are you playing primarily third base at this point?
I'm playing primarily third base.
Third base.
Who's St. Louis's third baseman that year?
That is,
Freeze?
Freeze is kind of the guy. Yeah.
Freeze is the guy. So, because you got Freeze, for Kyle.
Because we're headed into 2011. In 2011 is when David won the World Series MVP.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who was playing second base that year.
Second base going into that season.
Nick Punto.
Yeah, Nick
Punto.
But was that at the deadline? Did they get him?
I don't know. I just know the next year he didn't re-sign, and that kind of opened the door for you.
But yeah, the left side of the or was Skip? Was it Skip Schumacher?
Skip Schumacher.
Skip. Yeah, that's right. Skip. So you got Skip, Cal, and David Freese, right? Like David's on the younger side, but obviously Cal and Skip, those are like they've been around.
And first base,
like, those are like
first base is pretty
plug
secure.
and play, right? Yeah. And first base there was
Who's that guy at first?
The Machine.
Again? Oh yeah,
The Machine.
Golly.
Guys, I'm not a machine. Okay, I'm just.
So you go back. Sorry, you're the last kind of non-40 man guy in camp.
I'm like, I'm there thinking like this is like get your feet wet, like you're gonna be here, and then first round of cuts, see you later, go back down to the minor leagues. Well, first round of cuts goes, I'm still there. And like second round of cuts goes, I'm still there. I'm still playing, like I'm still getting opportunities to play. I'll never forget. We're like late in the spring, and we're going on the road, and on the road it's not as many of the studs travel.
Yeah.
But like you always take a few. Well, we go on the road and I'm playing and I'm batting third and I'm like, what is happening? And I had another good game. We're facing Derek Lowe, and had another good game, and I'm like, man, so like we're like at the very end of camp, and long story short, like I think I was the last guy cut, and I never forget, I get called into Tony's office, and I carried this for the rest of my career. He pulls me in his office and he's like, hey, we're gonna send you down, but I just want to tell you something. He's like, don't ever change. And I was like, just kind of looked at him. He's like, everything you're doing, the way you work, the way you get after it, the way you show up, and when you leave, all of it, don't ever change. And I was like, yes, sir. And I walked out of his office, and I think, I went down, and I can't remember the exact timing, but I got called up
June
4th, that season.
Dude, so all right, two questions. One, spring training, who was like the first guy? Because I think we all have a moment, right? In your first big league camp or your first experience, either around big leaguers or in the big leagues, whatever. But like you're kind of not your welcome to the big leagues moment, but this kind of like, what the heck am I doing here moment? Like, who did you face?
Or who did you see in your own clubhouse?
Yeah, obviously, like we talked about Ozzie Smith and stuff like that. I know, like for me, it was when I was a JIC. I was just in case guy. I was backing up a big league game, and they brought me in after Justin Masterson, before Derek Lowe, and I look up and it's Scott Rowland standing in the box. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here, dude? Like I don't belong here. Was there a moment like early in camp where like maybe you got to start, or you came in early, and it's like like there's a monster standing on the mound, and you're like, what in the world?
I mean, for me, like, going back to, I named all those names, but like, being a baseball guy, like, even following the A's, like with McGuire and Canseco and Tony La Russa at the helm, like McGuire is the hitting coach in this locker room at the time. That's La Russa is the manager. Like I'm looking at those guys like, where am I? But at the time, the guy that really like, I gotta say Albert. I mean, we're talking about the greatest right-handed hitter that's ever walked the planet Earth, in my opinion. Some might say others, but that's my opinion. Seeing him, I think he's the best right-handed hitter that's ever walked the planet Earth. And at that time, I mean, he was at the peak of the 10-year. I mean, the 10 best years that you could probably ever dream of as a baseball player, and kind of the face of baseball. He was like the guy. So like you walk in there and now you're like not to get weird, but like showering next to Albert Pujols and like standing next to him and watching him do his work and behind the scenes, listening to him have conversations that nobody else is having, like you're on the team with him. That was a wild experience. That was
There's something, do you remember like just watching him hit in the cage? It was different. Yeah.
I like, he was so like just deliberate and like methodical, and like the way he like worked, like he was so just like locked in with like I learned a lot from him, like mainly by just watching him, like the way he worked. Like I was like a tireless worker, but like I watched him and learned like there's a better way than just going and beating balls into the ground. Like, you know, like every swing was with a purpose. Like there was something behind everything he did. Like even the way he fielded a ground ball, like he was so like there was a plan with, and like he was getting better every time he took a bat as in. You know what I mean? Like
no, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, I remember, you know, watching Josh Donaldson and Jose like hitting the cage when I finally got established a little bit. And I was much like you. I would like, as long as I was doing something, I felt like I was getting better. If the more that I hit, I felt like I was getting better. But then I watched these guys hit in the cage, and it was like they would hit a ball and they would step out and they would like, you know, do something with their shoulders, or they'd feel something in their swing. They'd think about it, and then they go back and hit another one. Yes. It was like they would only get one swing off maybe every 30 seconds, where I'd probably already hit the whole bucket in 30 seconds, right? So I learned that it was important to work hard, but it also have an idea of what you were doing behind the work.
For sure. And that was like the first guy that, the first pro, you know, that you like, because he was the guy I couldn't keep my eyes off of. And it's like, that was the other thing I noticed about him. And you guys can probably speak to this. Like when you're the best player on the team or the world, whatever, like everyone watches you.
Yeah.
You know, so like it comes, and I tell young kids this all the time, like the kids that I coach, like, and when I go back and speak to like the college players and stuff, like that's a message that I like. When you're the best, it's a huge responsibility when you're great, because everyone's paying attention. And so, and Albert like embraced that. And I've played with like Aaron Judge in New York, maybe the best I've ever been around at it. Like
that's what, dude. I've heard he is like next level, just unbelievable at everything.
He might be. I
is he an alien?
He might be. He's the best I've ever been around at like everything. Like when it comes to like the way he treats staff, the way he treats clubhouse people, the way he treats bottom of the totem pole to the highest paid guy in that locker room. No one's treated differently. They're all treated the same. If he like to be that level of stardom and that level of greatness, but to also be super hyper aware of like the kid who's getting called up that is going to maybe get 10 days in the big leagues and you're never going to see him again, to go up to that guy the day he walks in the locker room and sit next to him at lunch and like learn about his family and like talk to him. That is like unique. Like nobody does that.
Yeah.
If you're here in September, I'll buy you a suit.
Yeah.
We'll go get suits.
Media trained, everything.
Dude, he is
charitable,
and then to
fan interaction.
Go out there and just hit 60 every year while doing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is a really good point. I had an opportunity to play with, you know, Lindor in Cleveland. And granted, he was the young guy that was coming up, but he was so good. And he, you know, became such a, I mean, it was a smaller market, but like, man, like he was one of those guys that was just like, dude, everybody loved him, right? Like it was just like, he knew, like he was 22 years old and he was like, get on my back, boys, we're going. And then, you know, seeing like a guy like Trout and Ohtani, you know, when I was in Anaheim, and Trouty's very similar. Like he's the best player in the world at the time. You know, he'd won, I think that year he won his 4th MVP or 3rd MVP. And, but just everybody loved him. Like it was a huge red flag if somebody wasn't, you know, if somebody knew him, they're like, I don't know about Trout. If somebody said that, I'm like, dude, red flag on that guy, right? Because he treats everybody just unbelievable. But so you get this experience, you're around all of these guys, and then they send you out, right? But you have a great camp. You know, you get vote of confidence from a Hall of Fame manager in La Russa, a World Series contending team. You go back out, then you make your debut in June. You get called up. Do you think it's coming? Is like somebody get hurt? Like, or is it like somebody calls you in the office? Like, walk us through, you know, I mean, I think all of us here can kind of remember pretty vividly how we were told and, you know, what you did next.
It's one of my favorite stories. So Chris Maloney, we call him Hammer. He's our AAA manager, unbelievable guy, one of my favorites. He ended up being in the big leagues for quite a while with us in St. Louis. But I had been playing well, but I was kind of starting to struggle, like not like for a long time, but like having a bad week.
Yeah.
And I had just an ugly game. Like made an error that like late in the game that cost us a run. And then like I had had a chance to maybe tie it late, had a bad at bat, and we ended up losing. And, you know, I told you guys, like, I'm, you know, first guy there, last guy to leave. Well, this particular game, I was so frustrated. And I lived in Germantown, which playing in Memphis, Germantown was like 45 minutes away. And I lived with my my wife's aunt. My wife and I were married at the time. We have no money, and so her aunt lives in Germantown, free room and board. I'm going to take it up. Even though it wasn't convenient, it was almost an hour drive every day. And so I'm frustrated and just had a bad game. And so like I like get showered like right away, like hop in the car, and I'm just out. Well, Hammer like knows me, and like we're in June. Like he knows, like he just assumes like I'm gonna be there all day, like I typically am. So like I'm like pulling into the driveway, and my phone rings. He's like, he called everybody Bull. He's like, "Hey Bull, where are you?" And I'm like, I'm almost home. Skip, why? What's up? He's like, I need to talk to you. You need to come back. And I'm like, okay. I hang up the phone, and I'm like, and like it's not even registering with me. I'm assuming that he wants to talk to me about this poor game I just had. So I'm like, I like turn around, drive another hour back, and I'm just like running through my head like, what is he gonna say to me? And I walk, back into the park in the stadium, walk back into the clubhouse. He goes into his office. I shut the door. Like, when you're about to get called up, most guys are kind of like going in there giddy, like they think they kind of have a feeling. I had no feeling. Like I was literally thinking I was about to be told, like, hey, you need to start working on your backhand. That ball, you probably should have made that. Like I think we're gonna go over something about the game. So I go in there, and he's like, hey man, or hey Bull, that's what he called everybody. Hey Bull, you're going up to the big leagues. And I'm like, what? Like just lose it, cry, excited, call my dad, call my mom, call my wife, and just greatest moment ever.
That's awesome. You're in Memphis at the time.
In Memphis.
Where do you make your debut?
Debut is in St. Louis versus Cubs Cardinals.
Ooh.
Crazy story. So I go into St. Louis. I just told you how Albert's like the guy that you just like, can't take your eyes off of. I get called up in the big leagues the first day. I get into the deal, like you get no sleep, right? You're just exhausted because you're just so wired.
It's probably a 3 connected flight. You're wired, the adrenaline. You don't want to miss your alarm.
Exactly. So I get in there, and I go into Tony's office, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna let you rest this first day, but you're in there tomorrow, so like be ready.
Well, that's nice of him.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
And I'm like, and I like go home, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, who's it? And I'm thinking, oh, Chris Carpenter's pitching. I'm playing third. Cubs Cardinals sell out. Like, I'm already like starting to panic. So I go to the first game. We're sitting there, and first day in the big leagues, like, I'm just taking it all in, and just it couldn't be like a better scenario. It's Cubs Cardinals. It's sold out. Like, there's a buzz in the stadium. Albert comes up in the 9th in a tie game, hits a walk-off homer, and I'm like, dude, this is incredible.
So you get to celebrate a home plate.
I'm jumping at home plate. I still have the photo. Like I like snuck myself into the front of like the deal. Yeah, like
if they let a fan on the field.
Yeah. Like you know how it is. Like in the clubhouse, like the dog pile is like all the boys. Like not the kid who just got called up. Like I'm like in the front, and like I have the photo still at my house. It's
That's
like
hilarious.
Greatest. So the next day, I get up there. I'm playing this time. I'm at third. I'm stressed, like panic. First, I think I'd have to fact check this. I'm pretty sure Darwin Barney led off, but if he didn't hit first, he hit second, and he hit a ball right to me. Like it's like you want to get that first one out of the way.
Yeah.
So I field it, throw it, like get out of it, like calm down after that, and then ended up getting my first hit in that game later off Kerrywood.
What a
no
name.
big deal.
Yeah,
no big deal.
First knock off Kerrywood.
Got hit a double down the line. Honestly, I was super late and just barely just kind of filleted one down the left field line for a double. But so same thing. Like it's like the 9th or 10th. I think we might have been extras. Like 10th inning, Albert comes up in a tie game, walk-off homer again. I've been in the big leagues 2 days. He's hit a walk-off homer both days.
You're like, this guy.
Man, if there's a league above this, he needs to go to that one.
Who is this guy?
Yeah. I know. I love talking about this on this show too. And you obviously had a much better career than me, and you were a great player. You accomplished great things, but people don't truly understand like the talent disparity between like even a 3-time All-Star and yourself and Albert Pujols. It's like you said, you're at some point you're watching this guy and you're like, when are they just gonna? There's got to be another league for just those guys to play, and so us mere mortals can just compete against each other.
Dude, I totally agree. I'm curious what y'all think about this. I have a theory on this because I was fortunate enough to play with like a decent amount of guys that are going to be Hall of Famers.
Yes.
And like there's certainly like there is a talent gap but there's also like, there is a, like the way that they see the game and the way that they approach the game and their confidence inside that is just like, it's like unreachable for me, like a guy who grew up around baseball, who like feels like a son of a coach. It feels like I know everything about the game. Like the way that Albert saw the game, Yachty saw the game, the way that their brains like process the game was just something that I can't achieve.
Yeah, I feel like especially on the position player, the hitter side, right? Because it's just, like say like DeGrom, right? Or Kershaw, right? Like those guys, like they pitch every 5th day. Granted, it's a mountain of a task, but it's like when you have the ball, like you dictate, right? Like you are dictating what's happening, right? Like obviously when the ball leaves your fingertips, you're no longer in control, but like Kersh can control the pace of the game, right? Like if I make a good pitch here, more times than not, I'm gonna get somebody out. As a hitter, like you gotta grind that guy down, right? Like, or Albert's got to come up there off of a Brad Lidge. Or,
I was gonna say to your point, I feel like the best hitters, position players have been around, have a way of feeling like they're dictating what the pitcher on the mound's doing.
Yes.
And I never got to that point.
Yes.
I'd sit on pitches, but it would be like, I have a feeling. They'd be like, no, I know.
So
I faced you 3 months ago. I checked these boxes. I set you up for this moment. Like, I know you get to throw what you want, but I already know what you're going to throw.
Yeah.
I've set you up for months and months in advance. They're playing a level of chess that I never got to.
Yeah,
totally.
I'd be like, righty out of the bullpen, he's probably going to throw me a slider. That's just my gut feeling. It wasn't like, no, I set you up 3 months ago when I took that slider and that at bat because it wasn't that important. Around those guys, they talk like that. They're like, I took that pitch because no one was on base. And I knew I was going to face him later in a bigger situation. And then I sat on that pitch and I hit it out. And you're like, wait, you planned that for 3 months?
I think guys know. So like, I didn't play against Albert when he was in St. Louis. I played him against him a lot when he was in Anaheim. But like guys like Miggy, guys like Judge, guys like Trout, guys like Ohtani, like those guys they're just massive players in the game, right? And your entire game plan is around like that guy, right? I think those guys are aware of how they impact what a pitching staff is going to do to them, right? Because it's not like, if I'm facing, Anaheim in 2016 and it's like Trout and Upton and these guys, like I know like most of those guys is like, hey man, trust your stuff, right? But against Trouty, it's like, stay away from down and in, right? No strike breaking balls. Like, it's like, and so he knows, he's like, every guy in the league is pitching me the same way because they're all scared of me.
Yeah.
Every guy in the league is pitching me the same way. So, and then you think, we talked to Brandon Workman about like David Ortiz, right? And he just talks about like, he would say, hey, if this guy throws me a first pitch backdoor breaking ball for a strike, he's going to go second pitch cutter in and I'm taking him deep. He's like, dude, if he said that 10 times, he hit it. He did it 7. Like he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And, I used to hear stories about like him and Manny. And then you'd hear stories about Jose and Edwin in Toronto, like setting guys up. And so I do think you're right where it's like, man, they just see it completely. They know that they're viewed a certain way. And so they're just like, man, I'm going to dictate what this guy does.
Well, for sure. And I think that they build that skill set of playing chess versus checkers like we're all playing. But also, I kind of take it back to like being the best player at your local little league, right? When you're the dude, like there's just this confidence that like I'm just better than everybody else. That they get that too, that piece. Like when like I'm the best player in the game or one of the best, like there's such a high level of confidence and freedom inside that space that you're not dealing with the same level of anxieties and stress that like me and you are dealing with, or like, like I'm like just trying to figure out how I'm going to get my next hit. I just want to hang around one more day up here, know, like they're just kind of, there's a, it's almost like they got jazz music playing in their head. They're just kind of hanging out. And
seriously, that's a real thing. I mean, so 2011, you get you get a knock off Kerry Wood, you play well. Do you go back down or do you stay up the whole year?
No. So I had like kind of a, it wasn't a huge sample size, but it wasn't a great like showing. I think I was 1 for 13 or 1 for 15, but I like looking back on that, knowing what I know now, like, I don't think it would have mattered. Like Matt Holliday was coming off the DL, and I could have been 15 for 15.
Yeah, they're not sending him down.
No. So Matt Holliday comes off the DL 2 weeks into my time being up there, and I'm the guy getting sent down. So I don't think it would have mattered. But I didn't have a great start, but that was good for me because that was kind of like fuel. I had some taste. I had a taste of it. Didn't really perform as well as I wanted to perform, but I also kind of got adjusted. Like one of the things that I like was kind of like a whirlwind for me was like, and you guys probably all went through, like getting called up and like family coming in and everybody wanting to be there and like handling tickets, and like I was just overwhelmed, you know. And so one thing that I told, you know, my wife, which, you know, bless her heart, literally was the MVP of my career, and still is. She like took that. I told her, I was like, if I ever get a chance to go back, like you've got to handle this. Like I can't manage this and who's coming to the game and how many tickets we'll leave. Like, so she took that burden off my plate. Also just, I had to make it was the first time in my life that I was in a batter's box and I was like trying not to fail. That was like my first experience getting called up. It was like, oh, like I never swung at the first pitch ever. That was like who I was as a player from the time I was a kid. I swung at the very first pitch I ever saw in the big leagues. That is so unlike me. And I was like, I got to figure this out. I got to mentally, I had to do some things to like get myself ready for that second chance if I was going to get that second chance. So like I went down. So when they sent me down, I like made like all these like agreements in my head. Like if I ever get back, I'm not doing this. I'm going to make sure I'm doing this. I'm going to have, when I step in the box, I'm going to stick to my plan. I'm going to be confident in my plan. And if it doesn't go well, I'm going to go down the way I want to go down. I'm not going to try to change or do something different. Like, because I didn't like the way that I took those at bats. Like it wasn't who I was, you know?
So what's that feeling like? You go down, obviously a little bit of reset. You get to have these non-negotiables with yourself. You finish the year in AAA. This team goes on to play in the postseason. Do you make any of the postseason rosters that year? So
No.
you left off the postseason roster entirely.
Yep.
At that point, do they still have like a stay ready camp or anything where your season's over?
My season's over. I'm at home. Nobody's a bigger St. Louis Cardinal fan than me at that moment. I'm watching every game. I'm cheering for them, you know, and we all remember that World Series, just that what incredible it was. Like, I'll never forget. I'm sitting in my wife's parents' home, and I'm just screaming at the top of my lungs watching, you know, David hit the triple and then hit the homer. And so, no, to answer your question, like I was not like my season was over. I went back home to Texas and I sat in, you know, my home watching those games on TV.
Pretty cool. So you get a chance to go back to big league spring training next year. Departure of Albert Pujols and Nick Punto, correct?
Yes.
So the window of opportunity for you to make the team is right there in front of you. Is there a conversation going into spring training? I believe they told you to take some reps at first base and outfield during spring training, probably in addition to third base as well.
So yeah, so going into this point of my baseball career, I had never played an inning of anything outside of third base and a little bit of first. So played third base all.
And that was your natural position in college too.
Yeah, so like where I grew up, we had a good little, like, you know, most position players like typically play shortstop. Like, you know, if you're the best player in your little area, you're shortstop until you go to college, whatever. We had a really good shortstop. His name was actually Carpenter, Will Carpenter. And so he played short. We grew up together. He played short. I played third. So I played third in high school and like basically from like 12 on. And so I go to TCU. I'm playing third. I played a little bit of first at TCU, getting a pro ball, played only third. Get to the big leagues, played third in 2011. And so David has a great season and wins the World Series MVP. And I have been swinging the bat well. And like we know, like if you hit, they'll find a place for you. So they call me that off season and they're like, hey, you're coming back to big league camp, but we need you to go figure out how to play some other positions. Like you need to learn how to play some outfield, need to learn how to play some first, some second. Would you go do it? And I was like, all right, well, I got to go play winter ball then. Cause I can't just show up to do this. So I go and play in Lycée for the, in the Dominican, go to winter ball, play some outfield, play some second base, play some first base, come into camp
By the way, it's not an easy place to go play.
No.
It's not like they would have been better sending you to the Fall League because I had a similar experience, not necessarily about learning a new position, but to get some more reps, work on your swing. They sent me the Dominican, and I was like,
stressful.
no, this is sink or swim. There's no working on your game down here. It's like, you either produce for us or we're going to send you home.
That is
So I can imagine
so true.
trying to play a different position down there. It's not easy.
So it's crazy enough. No, super stressful. Like, it is sink or swim. Like, they want to win. Like, you do not have, this is not like, oh, come in here, like spring training, get your feet wet. Like, don't do well. Like, you're out of there.
I remember being 0 for 4 in my first 4 at bats. Thank God I got a 5th one. But they're looking at me like, hey, we're paying you a good amount of money. We're only allowed so many American players here. If you don't hit, we'll send you home. Like, it's day one. Luckily, I got a 5th at bat, and I poked one up the middle, went 1 for 5, and it bought me. I felt like literally it was at bat to at bat the whole time I was there. They were looking at me like, if you don't produce, you're gone.
100%. And hey, not to mention like rowdy crowds. Like, I'm playing first, like for the first time over there. I can't remember who the pitcher was, but a Dominican guy with an absolute cannon. He picks over the first inning and just whizzes it by me. Like, I didn't even put a glove on it. And just the entire stadium just erupts in boos. And I'm like, oh boy, this is like, I am not in a safe place over here. But man, so I go down there and try to learn how to get to start playing some new positions, and come into camp that very next year. And like, Tony La Russa's also retired, so Mike Matheny's the new manager.
Okay.
And we have a conversation early. He's like, hey, you know, we're gonna move you around, go play some outfield we get you some reps out there, gonna get you some reps here. And I just kind of spent that camp like proving to them that I could be a guy that can make this team, and you could play me multiple positions.
So you make the team out of camp?
I did, yeah. So made the team out of camp, and kind of went into that season in 2012 with the role of like, because we were stacked again. I mean, we had Carlos Beltran, we had David Freese, we had Alan Craig, who was a huge part of that 2011 World Series. Lance
I loved it.
Yeah,
dude,
I used to do it when I was.
He could rake.
Alan Craig could hit, man. I'm telling you, that injury, that Liz Frank injury that running backs get that ruins their careers. I mean, it ruined his career. I mean, he got that injury, he never recovered from it.
He could hit.
He was a stud. So you had him. Lance Berkman was coming back. I mean, there was lots of. I mean, Matt Holliday was still left. The 4 positions that I could play were covered.
Yeah,
left, right, first, third. I hadn't really done second yet. By the way, I forgot about that. This was when they sent me to learn the new positions. It was corner, outfield, corner, infield. So I went to go play outfield and learn to do some first base. But all 4 of those positions were stacked. So my role on that 2012 team was, I was like, when Carlos needed a day, I got to start. When Matt Holliday needed a day, I started in left. When Lance needed a day at first, I was the first baseman. When David needed a day, I was the third baseman. And then I was, first bat off the bench, taking the big pinch hit at bats. And so I ended up with a lot of playing time without an everyday role.
And then in July, they moved you to second base? I think in July that year?
One day, and this was so random, and it's a story that my dad and I laugh about all the time, because,
And who would have been at second base at the time?
It was kind of like a floating. I remember it being like kind of like a rotating deal between Descalso. I'm trying to think of who else was getting reps there. Tyler Green. Nobody had really like hammered down that position.
Yeah.
And so I was playing and performing well in my role of like moving around. And that was a spot where they saw like, hey, we could possibly, find an everyday opportunity at second. And so they just threw me in there for one day. I'd never played it before. I never practiced it. I'd never ever played second base. And I just like get a phone call and like, hey, we're going to start you at second base tonight. And I'm like, okay. So I go have 3 at bats. I think it was just one game. And it like, they saw it. And then I never went back over there again. We finished that season and have a good year. I had a big postseason moment.
Yeah, come on. Don't jump over that. Don't jump over that. You come off the bench for an injured Carlos Beltran in Game 3 of the NLCS. Do you have any postseason at bats up until this point?
I think I had a pinch hit.
Maybe like a pinch hit. You didn't start any of the games.
No, definitely not.
And then who did you guys beat in the DS that year?
So that was we played in the first ever wild card game versus the Braves.
Dude, so let's talk about that game real quick. Was that because that was Chipper's last game?
Chipper's last game, and then remember the infield fly.
They were throwing dude. They were
threw all the
trashing
bottles
the
on the
field.
Kurt
Dude,
Hong,
I remember that.
We'll have to get video on this for this.
Dude,
So
Chipper
the infield
Jones,
fly, right?
infield
Or the
fly.
non-infield fly.
short fly ball in the short left field. Matt, it's place is packed.
Dude, shortstop, was it Pete Cosma? That's
Pete
right.
Cosma waves him off. Matt Holliday backs off. The ball drops in between. Pete like runs back. I'm pretty sure you'll see it on the clip. He kind of gives it one of these, and then he like puts his head down and like moves forward. Well, Matt like is running, and he like is about to do it, and then he sees Cosma kind of, so he backs off, and the ball drops. Umpires get together, infield fight. The place erupts.
Dude,
like
crazy.
bottles on the field. Dude, it was intense. Like stuff was hitting the dugout. I mean, it was crazy. They call us off the field. We go in there. We ended up winning that game.
And that was the one game wild card.
One game wild
card.
First one ever.
Yeah, now they have the 2 or 3. But like that Braves team too was pretty talented. That was
Really
a talented
good.
Braves team because that was Freddie,
Jason
it was young
Hayward.
Freddie, Jason Hayward. You had Chipper that was still there. I think Anderson Simmons might have been there.
Brian McCann.
Man.
B-Mac. Yeah, that was a really
Stud.
good team.
Kimbrel was throwing gas.
Dude, Kimbrel was so freaking good.
They were good. So yeah, we snuck through that round. Then we go to Washington, right? I'm pretty sure it's Washington.
That was back when this is 2012.
2012.
This is like they were really good every year, but they couldn't get out of the first round.
They had us beat. And we came back and won that game. Pete Cosma ended up having a huge hit in that deal.
Yeah.
Descalzo had a big one. Shouldn't have won that series, but we found a way and won that one.
Because that was like the Harper was there, Strasburg was there. Was Rendon there or was he not there?
Jason Worth.
Jason Worth, that's right.
Gio Gonzalez. Their rotation.
Ian Desmond. Ian Desmond was on that team.
The rotation was really good. Yes.
Yeah, because they had maybe was it Tanner Roark? Was he there?
I have to look.
But
They were
those
really
Nationals teams back then were like
They
just
stacked.
couldn't break through though. They just couldn't break through.
They were.
And I do feel like there was a log jam of teams in the National League at that point that like everybody was really similar. It's just like who shows up that day, right? Which whether it would be like Cincinnati had some really good teams back then, Atlanta, Washington.
Well, the most frustrating thing for us is the Cardinals is we're the Giants. You think about
Yeah.
we're probably going to get to this, but in 12,
Yep.
we lose to the Giants in the NLCS. We had them beat. We felt like we were the better team. They go on to win the World Series. 14, same thing, thing. Like had them in the NLCS, had them beat. Felt like we were the better team. They go on to win the World Series.
Yep.
So you look at to your point during that time, like it just goes to show you how hard it is to win the World Series. Like
yeah,
and
they did it too, and in 14 they did it the long way, right? They had the one gamer against the
Cole
Mets.
and the Pirates. Was it the Pirates? I thought it was the Pirates.
Yeah, that's when Brandon Crawford hit that grand
home
slam
run off
Garrett
of
Cole.
Oh, that's
in the
right.
one
Yeah.
game.
And yeah. I'm thinking about yeah.
And they
But
go.
that was
So
when Mad
you
Bum-
talked about it. You talked about it. Game 3 NLCS. You get there. Beltran gets hurt in that game.
Yeah.
What happened to? I'm trying to remember.
Like, he had towards the end of his career, he was always battling the knee thing. He comes out of the dugout. By the way, like I watched
It's stressful, right?
I watched it all happen. My heartbeat was like at 1,000,000. He's coming off the field and he like slips in the dugout and he grabs his knee and I'm like instantly, when you're on the bench, anytime
you
have a-
watch everything.
you're
on the bench.
high alert.
You watch
You're
everything.
watching every player, and
You're
there's
like, wait, hold on. Okay, he's okay.
and you know
Got
which
him.
players
Okay.
to watch, right?
Yeah,
Like the ones
you
that are
know.
kind of like,
Yeah.
fringy, like might get hurt. And Carlos slips, and I'm like, and it just, my brain is like, dude, you're going to right field right
Fight
now.
or flight.
In the NLCS. Like, here you go. So he slips, tweaks his knee. They're checking him, trainer. He gives it the, like, I'm not going to be able to go. Mike comes over. He's like, hey, you're up there. And I'm like, oh my goodness. The stress for me in that moment was not necessarily the at-bats. Like, it was the playing the outfield. Like, I was just so inexperienced at this point in my life to play outfield at the big league level with those towels going. Like, that was where the real stress came from. But I had
And this is in San Francisco.
this is in St. Louis.
Oh, thank God.
That's
Matt
right.
Cain's
I was
pitching.
gonna say you would have had a heart attack
Oh,
playing an
that
outfield
San Fran-
there.
San Fran
That
wouldn't
place
have
is
been good either.
nightmare.
No, that's not. I did play outfield a few times there. It's not fun. But I come up and Matt Cain early in the game. I think it was like the third or fourth inning, and have a tough at bat and end up hitting a huge homer that ended up being a big one in the game. And that was like the first like moment in the postseason where like you did
Dude,
something.
when you click that ball.
Oh.
Because dude, like so that stadium, St. Louis, is like that's one of the ballparks like in all of baseball, right? It's like one of the greatest atmospheres in all of baseball, especially in the postseason. You're a young player, like you're getting your first taste of it, right? Granted, the regular season, there's some games that are just popping there, right? Like when you talked about like the Cubs Cardinals series, like the rivalry. But man, like CS in St. Louis, and it was a ball. Like I watched it. Like you click it, and you're like, that's gone. Like it's gone. What are you thinking? Like rounding first and rounding second. Are you floating?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, those are the moments, when you dream of playing in the big leagues, like you don't really dream of like your debut or like, you dream of hitting a big homer in a playoff game, or the World Series. Like that's what you dream of. So like to get that opportunity in that moment, like especially so early in my career, like really technically my first year in the big leagues. Super special, super awesome, something I'll never forget. And like, I mean, really like any going forward, like every postseason moment, you learn to appreciate just how hard it is to get there. And when you do something cool in it, like just how enjoyable that is.
Yeah, you mentioned losing to him 2 years prior, kind of the even years of the Giants.
Yeah.
You end up going to lose to him in Game 7 that year. What's that feeling like individually, collectively? What's that feeling like losing to the same team again?
It's tough.
And feeling like you're the better team.
It's tough. I mean, you can't really, regret's not the word because, you can't, I have zero regret on my career personally. And I know that like every team I played on, we don't, like I look back from 11 to 15 in St. Louis, we had the ability and the team, like everyone knows, like you walk, like every team, going into the season in spring training, everyone's like, oh, let's, we're going to try to win the World Series. But the reality of it is, and we all know this, like there's like 10-ish teams that have a legitimate chance every year.
Yeah.
That's just the truth. Like based off of the amount of talent, the roster, that is the reality. I mean, there's been some, years where maybe that's not necessarily true, but for the most part, that's how it is. From 11 to 15, when I was up there, we had a legitimate World Series teams that could have won it every single year. And while I was there, we never did. They won it in 11, but 12, we could have won it. 13, I thought we had the best team in Major League Baseball, lost the World Series to the Red Sox. 14, we were really good, should have won it, lost to the Giants, who ended up winning it. 15, we had the best record in baseball, and we got beat in the first round of the Cubs, who, went on to win it the very next season. And so
you guys did. Yeah, I mean, you guys did. And the National League back then it was very, like, there was a lot of competition through the National League. And you look at those teams too, like, it's not like, outside of maybe the series against Boston, the World Series, who, we can talk about David Ortiz, man. Like, I think he hit 730 for the series.
Could get him out. And you mentioned this earlier. You're talking about the players where you go into those meetings and you're like, hey, we, don't let this. I'll never forget. Like, I was in those pitchers meetings. Like, everyone went into this like, we can't let David beat us. Like, we're not letting him beat us. Like, this is how we're gonna pitch him, and he still beat us.
Dude, he literally. I remember that series, man, because he might have seen every night. He might have seen 3 strikes and 4 bats.
Hit them all.
Hit every one of them.
Like for damage.
Every one of them. And that was back when you could shift. You could put the second baseman in right field. I mean, dude, he was just lasers right through it. It didn't matter.
Dude.
I want to get there, but I don't want to skip over I believe it's your 2013 season. They tell you you're going to be the everyday second baseman going into camp. And then they move you to leadoff spot in April. Is that a conversation Matheny had with you? When did he have that conversation about moving you to leadoff? Because it felt like once you got to the leadoff, correct me if I'm wrong, I felt like your career kind of just went to another level.
100%. I mean, I just think that.
Or was it the stability of playing the same position too? Like knowing you were going to be the second baseman?
I think that there was a comfort level for the style hitter that I was that like really worked at the leadoff spot. Like the way I took an at bat, like not hardly ever swinging at the first pitch, getting deep in accounts, the amount of 3-2 counts that I had over my course of my career. I mean, I hit in 3-2 counts more than I felt like I hit in any other count. And so like, that like really worked for our offense. When they finally made that move in 13, like it, not only for me did it take like me off, did I start to take off, but our whole lineup really took off. And just the style that the way that I took that at bat at the top of the order kind of set the tone for the rest of the lineup. And like, I took a lot of pride in that. Like, you think about the comment that, AJ made, like, I took a lot of pride in being the guy that, like, to start off the game, like, I was setting the tone, like, this is not going to be easy for you. Like, I'm going to try to wear you down. I might not get a hit, but it's going to take you 6, 7, 8 pitches to like get through just one guy. And then guess what? Carlos Beltran's next, and then Matt Holliday, and then Alan Craig, so that was something that I really took pride in. When he gave me those reins, like when Mike was like, hey, we're going to try this out, like I wanted to make that work, so
You made it work. You got to your first All-Star game that year.
Yeah.
City Field.
That's freaking awesome.
What's that feeling like you've talked about kind of your journey up until this point, not necessarily being a linear path, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of doubt, a lot of kind of being sent up and down. You had to make these non-negotiables to yourself. There has to be this level of, I guess, being proud of yourself, this level of, man, I made it.
Yeah. Certainly was like super just humbled and thrilled and like appreciative of getting getting that acknowledgement. But, one thing for me, like as a player, like it's hard to explain, but I don't want to say satisfied was the right word, but like it was almost out of fear. Like I played and worked at a game, like because baseball had almost been taken away from me so many times. Like I thought I played my last game in college. Like every day I showed up to the ballpark, I tried not to take it for granted. So like even when I started having success, like it was always like, man, like I played and went to the field every day with like, I just want to like survive here. I just want to like not get sent down. I just want to, help our team win. And so, I think that mindset is what was able to like, and I took that into the last day that I ever played. And I think that mindset was for a guy like me with truly like limited talent, like to be able to play as long as I did, because I never took it for granted. Like as I was having success, like I always wanted to try to find a way to become a better player. And I like, even, you make the All-Star team and you have that season, like you show up to spring training the next year. And it's like, I'm just trying to make this team again, like that mindset.
What was that All-Star game experience like?
It was so much fun. I mean, I had all my family there and we had we were rolling as a team. So I think we had like 6 or 7 guys. Like we had a bunch of guys. So like we flew up on the plane, I think that together, Carlos Beltran like had a plane and we all got on there. It was like 8 of us, 7 or 8 of us. And we all flew into New York and met all of our families up there and just had an incredible experience. I mean, I think when you think about an All-Star game and the venue for it, like the parade and like New York is tough to beat.
You get an at bat? Who'd you face in the All-Star game?
Man, I was on deck to face Mariano Rivera.
I was just going to ask you about that because like, dude,
I was so bummed.
You made it as a reserve, so you came in late.
I did get an at bat.
You did get an at bat. Okay.
I did play. So I came in late, played second. Like the real highlight of my game was Prince Fielder hits a sinking line drive in the right field. Carlos Gomez goes to dive for it. I'm like back in kind of the shift, so I'm kind of in the outfield, and he goes to dive for it and he misses it. And I'm standing right there, and the ball is headed to the wall, and he's on the ground like behind me. So I take off running all the way to the right field wall as a second baseman, grab it and throw it in. Prince Fielder hits that triple. Ends up being the triple that ends up beating us. That was like the real moment I had in the game. Like I ended up in the right field wall as a second baseman. But I can't remember. I had an at bat. I think it was against. I can't remember who it was against.
It was the guy after. Was it? It was whoever closed out the game because Mo didn't close. Mo threw the 8th, right?
Yeah.
Mo threw the 8th. Was it Greg Holland?
No, I'm bringing out. I can't believe I can't remember this. I'll think of it.
The big dog in the American League in 2013. We'll figure that out.
But you were on deck and Mario was on the mound.
Dude, how cool was that? Because there was a handful of guys. I wasn't a big like memorabilia guy, like wanted guys to like send jerseys over or whatever. But obviously, like I was closer. He's like the standard, right? Like the guy, the top of the mountain, and like how he did it. I was always super, I just admired like kind of how he did it, right? He just like, we had Kinsler in here. He's talking about like he played in the middle and like that closer's role. You have a lot of guys that are like, they just ride the roller coaster, right? They're super intense and but he just kind of did this. Him and Joe Nathan were like the two guys that I really tried to watch.
That's who it was.
Oh, Joe. Okay.
That's who I faced.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because
I can't believe I forgot that.
He was with Texas that year. That's
Joe,
right.
who I got my bat off.
Yeah. So Joe Nathan. Yeah. So those two guys, man, they were unbelievable. But Mo was a guy like I ran over and I found him during BP and I was like, hey man, if I send a jersey over, can you sign it? And he was like, absolutely, man. Like super kind, super generous. Sent a jersey over, wrote something nice on it. But man, like hearing Enter Sandman, like, bro, like, I mean, look at the back of his baseball card. He has an entire season pitched in the playoffs. Like, look at his numbers in the World Series. Like, he has literally an entire season in the playoffs.
It's hard to say never, but that's like, it feels like a career that's never going to be like, no one's ever going to be able to do that again. Like,
It's going to be really hard.
It's going to be really hard to replicate
Extremely
that.
difficult.
He was unreal.
Unfortunately, I think the guy, I know we're getting a little off topic here, but I love talking shop with guys who like talking shop. But, being a Cleveland guy, like Emmanuel Clase, like, dude, that guy is filthy. And it's sad. It's, I hate what's going on with him. But, he's kind of, we'll let that play out in the courts. But I was watching him and he was a guy that I was like, he might be able to. Like maybe not as long as Mo, but like just Cleveland's always in the postseason. Like he's a guy, like if he gets traded, he'll get traded to probably like LA, or like he'll be a guy that's just like finds himself at the back end of winning teams and now he's out of the game. But like you look around the game and you're like, man, this guy's got 600 something saves. He's got 50 in the postseason.
It's unbelievable.
Hey, Carp, September 21st. Does that ring a bell to you?
Of
That
what
year? That
13?
same year. 54 doubles, breaking Stan Musial's record.
Yeah.
Lasted for 60 years.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Man, yeah, that was certain. Like when it's as far as like individual achievements.
And we were discussing this. Is that the Cardinals' all-time record, or was that left-handed hitting?
Left-handed hitter.
Okay, Pujols, I assume, has the right hand.
No, Joe Medwick.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Pujols pulled up at first.
Yeah.
Or it was.
He had homers.
Or it
Pujols
was
hit way
serious.
too many.
He had homers.
Way too many homers. No, that was like, for as far as individual achievements, like something that you did and you look back on your career and you're like, wow, that's, to be even in the same breath as a guy like Stan Musial is pretty surreal. And the way that the team honored that, like, the owner got me like a watch, a Rolex watch, like engraved with the record on the back of it. And I have the base. I did it in Milwaukee and they gave me the base from second base and I still have that, which is really cool. So that was neat.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's really cool.
And you went on to lead the major leagues with 199 hits that year. Couldn't get one more. Does that? You say you have no regrets? You have one regret.
You'll have
one more hit.
You'll have to fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that I had it was at least 4, maybe 5 games. Like I had like a 0 for 24. Did you have
any that were like, should have been a hit, ruled an error?
Oh, for sure. And I probably had some on the other side though too. Like I probably had a hit that.
Were you feeling the pressure though? Like the last couple of games, like knowing you were at 199.
A little bit, yeah. And like, because I think it hit me like I think I was just getting tired. Because it carried on into
this is really your first
full season. Dude, I was just I look back on that and I was getting. I was just getting tired because that carried on to the postseason. I think I went like 1 for 15.
1 for 19.
1 for 19 in the first round. 1 for 19 in the first round against Pirates. And then I kind of cleaned it up against the Dodgers. What was that one? Like 6 for, it got a little better.
Yeah, it got a little better.
And then I played well in the World Series, but I was just slowly getting gassed. And, but I do remember, like, for sure, those last 2 games, like chasing hits instead of taking at bats, like chasing hits.
You ended up with 199, 55 doubles, 126 runs. I think all 3 of those categories led Major League Baseball, and you hit 318. I'm not sure. You didn't win the batting title that year. There's someone, I don't know who that was.
I think it was Michael Kadire.
Michael Kadire?
Yeah,
That might sound
Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he had a monster year.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned you're on these amazing teams. You're a playoff team every year. You go 1 for 19 against the Pirates. You said you cleaned it up a little bit against the Dodgers. Is this the same at bat? Because you had multiple big at bats against Kershaw. 11 pitch at bat against Kershaw.
No, Kershaw's that was the next year in 14.
Well,
You had another one, too.
The quote was the 13 at bat.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was like just a long at bat. I think it was 11 pitches versus and ended up hitting a double down the right field line to lead off an inning, and then Carlos ended up driving me in that like kind of started us like.
And you guys won 9-0
Yeah.
to go to the World Series.
Yep. And
Damn.
then
So take us to the World Series.
So you beat Kershaw to go to the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In 13.
Was that the same year that Matt Adams hit that big homer off him in St. Louis?
I think that one was 14.
14.
But I could be
Man,
wrong.
you guys matched up all the time.
I get my years mixed up. It could have been 13. Yeah, we'll have to check. It was one of it was one
I
of
do
the
remember. I just remember that iconic home run, like Matt. Like as soon as he hit
Huge.
it, like he missed first base. He had to go back and touch first base, like the whole
Huge.
deal. But so you guys go to the World Series, and you're on a roster that has a ton of experience. You guys are loaded, but you're playing against Boston. They've got a ton of experience, right? And you guys in 13, Waino's hurt. That is Waino out that year?
No,
Is he-
Carp's hurt.
Carp's hurt.
Yeah.
But you guys got Michael Wacha. You got this kid who is
Carlos Martinez also.
dealing. Oh yeah, Carlos Martinez. So you guys got Yachty's there, Carlos Beltran's there, Holiday's there. You got all these guys who have not only big league experience but postseason and World Series experience. These guys have all been there, done that. But you got Carlos Martinez and Michael Wacha who are essentially kids. And you're still, your second year full season big leagues, and you guys are going up against the monster that is Boston, and you guys take him to 6 games.
Yeah.
You guys lost in 6, but you get to play a World Series game in Fenway, which I'm sure, obviously playing at y'all's ballpark's awesome, but just walk me through your experience as a whole. Obviously it sucks losing a World Series. Been there. It sucks. But the experience as a whole is still like, there's nothing like it.
Man, it was. I mean, like, you think about just getting an opportunity to play in a World Series and by itself was incredible. And then to do it against another historic franchise like Boston and then doing it, between Fenway and Busch back and forth, and like, just the chill in the air, like during that time of year in Boston, like it just felt like what I'd watched growing up, the World Series games. So that was such a thrill. It hurts knowing that, we were so close. I mean, we had them on the ropes. I think we were up 2-1 in that series. That was that moment, like you probably remember, like Big Papi pulls the team together, that has that moment in the dugout and kind of like, hey, like rallied them back, and they end up coming back we had them like, we have the lead late in that game. We're about to go up 3-1, have them really on the ropes. They fight their way back to tie the series, and then we go back to Boston. They win that one, and then win Game 6. But like we really felt like we had the better team, and we had them on the ropes. So that's a tough one to swallow. But we talked about it so much already. It just goes to show you have an appreciation for how hard it is to win at that level, how tough it is to win a World Series, let alone just how tough it is to get in the postseason, let alone win a World Series. So you can't really. I don't look back on it and have regret, and it's just more disappointment. But at the same time, years later now, you look back, and I'm just grateful that I had the opportunity to do it, playing that and say that I played in a World Series. I mean, got some hits in a World Series. I mean, that'll be something that I'll tell my grandkids.
I got to ask you this question because a lot of times we only hear the other side of the story, but you made the final out of the World Series. How was that? Like, what is like, do you get tired of like seeing it on replay? Like I maybe you don't see it as often now, but I'm sure once the World Series is over, every time you turn on the TV, you're the guy making the last out.
Like I was like surprised when I came home that like season, how many people, like I guess it just didn't register with me at the time. You're
just taking it like another at bat.
Just another at bat, and like I got out and the game was over, and it's like I don't know. I guess I just did that the magnitude of that didn't register with me. So like, I was like surprised when so many people like brought that question up. And so I never made it a thing until they started asking. And then I was like, well, that did kind of stink, you know, like I didn't want to be that guy, but
nobody was hitting Koji.
At the same time, what made it not easier, but like, you know, if it was
one
nothing tie ball game, bases loaded, you know, but we were down. I think it was 6-0.
Yeah,
there was nobody on and 2 outs.
Yeah, it was only a matter of time.
Dude, and I like fouled off a few pitches, and they made a nasty pitch, and I struck out.
Bro, Koji, how good was Koji?
Dude, he was so good that year.
He's
that
probably
split was unhittable.
Outside of Greg Maddux, is the nastiest guy that didn't have a 90-mile-an-hour fastball.
He was gross.
I mean, 2 pitches, and one of them was an 88-mile-an-hour belt high fastball.
And those guys get so much better in postseason environments because everyone's so amped up.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like when you're playing, if you're playing him, like if he's closing for Miami and there's 2,000 people in the seats and you're facing him, like that split just doesn't feel as gross. But when it's places rocking and it's the World Series and it's the final out and he throws that split, you're like, I can't wait on it.
Yeah,
and,
dude,
you know,
that thing just fell off the table.
I got to read a couple of things to you real quick. So, last out of the World Series, you go on to win a Silver Slugger, your first of your career, and it's the first second baseman in Cardinals history. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, you were the first Silver Slugger at second base in Cardinals history. You finished 4th in the MVP that year. That's pretty crazy.
Who won the MVP that year?
Andrew McCutchen. Yachty finished 3rd or 2nd.
Man.
And then take us through, is it that offseason? Is it spring training? You sign your extension.
So revisiting what game was that? It was game 3. Or no, game 4.
I'm pretty sure it's game 4.
Game 4. David Ortiz is rallying the troops like in the dugout.
Did you see it from the field?
I did not know it happened until like after the game, postseason like coverage and people talking about it, getting asked by media afterwards. It became like a huge thing. In the moment, you're locked into the game, like, you know, because I think it happened in between innings or like, it wasn't like, I didn't see it happen, but like you heard about it after the game. And then you kind of like backtrack to like how the game played out. And then like, you kind of think like, oh man, like, you know, you start to feel that and then they win that and, you know, but you're not thinking about it. Then you flush it, you go home, go to sleep. You're not worried about it. Then you come back and lose the next one. And now the whole momentum is shift.
Yeah, dude, because there's like 3 like huddles like that I can remember that I think a lot of people know is that one, the Hunter Pence one in San Francisco when they played the Tigers. Like Ajax was when you're talking about. He's like, man, like Pence had freaking crazy eyes. He's like yelling, you know, they're all getting hyped and they come out and just wax Verlander. And nobody waxed Verlander back then. And so they were like, all right, man, these guys are playing on another level. And then the rain delay meeting with the Cubs, you know, like I still would love to know what the heck Jason Hayward said in there because we had them. They were on the ropes. We had them. And then they just came out like the previous 8 innings didn't happen and they were ready to play. So it's like those like tiny little moments like that, just like that reset. And I think it takes like a special player, a guy that like Ortiz or a guy like a Yachty or like where it's like when that guy speaks up, dude, I don't care if you're an MVP or first day in the big leagues, like everybody listens. And like when David Ortiz talks, like everybody's listening.
No
when
doubt.
Jason Hayward spoke, everybody listened, right? When Hunter Pence spoke, like everybody listened. So, man, like those great teams just have the ability to, you know, they have those great players and that, you know, that they recognize those moments. And,
No doubt.
you know, I'm sure like, you know, we just talked about like, but the further and further you get away, you're like, dang, man, like I wish they would have just not had the dang meeting and we would have just won the World Series in the next 2 games. Same thing, man. We talk about like the rain delay. I'm like, the rain delay wouldn't have mattered if Hayward wouldn't have rallied the troops.
No doubt. For sure.
All right, now you got to tell me about the extension.
Yeah.
Spring training, off season. What's that conversation like? What's that feeling like when you're like, yeah, I'm going to sign this? And then what do you go out and buy yourself? Because, I mean, very similar stories in the sense that I mean, you're talking about kind of being a big leaguer and going home to either your wife's parents' house or your parents' house, like living like, league minimum wasn't all that much back then. If you don't have kind of like a little bit of a signing bonus foundation, it's hard to like, go out and live on your own when you got a wife and stuff.
Totally. I mean, you're talking about life-changing money. I mean, my wife supported us throughout that time. So we were married. She's teaching. She's a 7th grade English teacher in our hometown. I'm playing professional baseball, making nothing. My first year in the pro ball in 2012, she stayed and continued to teach because I barely made the team. I'm the 10th guy on the deal. I don't know how long I'm going to be up here. You've got a great job. To your point, league minimum, it's not a ton of money. So like she's continued to work. And then 2013 happened. I had that great season. Starting to have conversations about a contract. So, she ends up quitting her job and coming with me full time. We're traveling together. And then when this contract actually becomes a thing, you're talking life-changing money and for the both of us, and just incredibly grateful, and just what a blessing. And I can't remember. I don't think we bought a house. That was probably the big purchase. But I mean, that's just like, I can still remember where we were, the feelings, and just like the incredible joy you feel from that,
Was it a pretty easy, like back and forth? Like they came with a good, fair offer immediately, where it took some time to get there?
No, it took some time. I think like they wanted to see where, like, and I don't blame them for this, but like
how eager you were.
How desperate you were.
I mean, like without throwing out like exact numbers, because I don't remember exact, but like pretty close to like that first Jose Altuve deal that he signed. Like right around that ballpark. And shoot, I would, without a good agent, I mean, I would have took it. I don't know any different. And so, and then it, got to where it got, and I thankfully had a great agent that did a great job. And
all right, you might have bought a house. You said you're not going to say anything, but I bet you started looking at ranches though.
Did end up with a ranch. Still got the same one. Still got the same one.
Yeah. So so he did end up buying a ranch. He got a nice little ranch.
Yeah. So for you, obviously, what feels better in that moment? Obviously, you're able to take care of your wife. You could buy a house. Your wife doesn't have to work anymore. On the baseball side, does the money feel better, or does the investment in you for the next 6 years feel better?
Without question, the security of like, I get to do this. They want me here. I can play this game for 6-7 years now. That was more important to me than the money. The money's great. Gives, it's life-changing. It set us up and our family up for the rest of our life. But like as a baseball guy, like the feeling I got from like the St. Louis Cardinals are willing to bet on me for the next 7 seasons. Like that to me was more what I took from, like, that brought more good feelings than anything.
Yeah.
So but also comes with a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I immediately went from like that mindset of like just happy to be here. Now it's like, man, I owe it to this organization. Like there's a responsibility here. Like I have to perform.
So you sign that deal that year. Colton Wong comes up, and you move back to your natural position at third base.
That's right.
Is that comforting as well too, or is it like, man, they've asked so much out of me, I finally got comfortable, I'm a all-star second baseman, now they want me to move back to third base? Or that's comforting going?
My mindset throughout that was and was like the whole time I was in St. Louis, like I wanted to, and I got a taste of it early of like how good we were being on winning teams, and like if the organization was like, hey, this makes us a better team, like I was all in. Like, you want to, hey, because I bounced around a lot over the next few years. Like went to first one year, was back at second some, went to third. And if it was like, and if I believed it, which I did with Colton and really all the moves that they made, like, hey, this is gonna make us a better team, then I was all in. Like, let's go find a way to win,
And you rewarded them. You go to your second All-Star game, Minnesota. It's got to be a good feeling too.
That was good. No, it's another cool.
Especially, I feel like there's probably nothing like your first All-Star game, but after, like you said, kind of maybe the expectations of yourself didn't change, but maybe the expectation to the organization and maybe the fan base changed when you have that kind of money attached to you. To go out and be an All-Star the first year has to feel good.
It does. I mean, like I said, there's a whole different level. There's always pressure playing professional baseball and playing at a high level, but I feel like when you get that guaranteed money, it takes it to another level because there's an expectation. Like you're no longer the fifth, you're no longer the 13th, round fifth year senior that's making, proving people wrong. Like now you're the high paid, hitting in the middle of the lineup franchise player that they've invested in. Like we expect this out of you. So whenever you can put a good season together when you're getting paid like that, I mean, it's a good feeling.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, because you go from like, proving them wrong to like, all right, now I need to prove them right, right? Like now I need to prove that like I belong, and and the one thing about it too with baseball is like, man, like every year they draft 40 more guys, right? Like they're coming, right? Like there's guys that are just as hungry as I was that are waiting for their shot, right? Like, Colton Wong had been waiting for his shot, right? And then you've got, other guys that are coming up that are waiting for their shot. So, and baseball is a game too, where it's like the second you just kind of like take your foot off the gas, it can happen quick. So to go out and make another All-Star team, and I'm sure too, like, 2014, you show up for the second time. There's only a handful of guys that show up year after year. There's only a handful of them, right? Like you're like, oh, hey, Mike, like Trout, you're back. Me too. Like there's only a few guys that get to do that, not every year, but most years. And now you're one of them, right? And so you're kind of putting yourself in a different category of not only great players, but of just guys that are basically, faces of the game, right? And you're in a great franchise like St. Louis, and you're going into the 2014 season coming off of a World Series appearance. You guys had them on the ropes. Now you're back in the postseason after the All-Star game. 2014, you got the Dodgers in the first round, and the DS that year
Yeah,
in
no
14.
DS.
Yeah, so you get the Dodgers again. So now it's another heavyweight matchup. You guys, you got Waka, you got, like y'all's dogs versus, Kershaw and his guys. You guys end up winning that series again. You had that big double, bases clearing double in the gap, the one that we were talking about early.
Is there truth to this? I don't know if you know this. You might know this. Did you homer and double in the first 3 games of that series?
Man,
I think you did.
Dude,
I think you're the first
numbers.
first player in postseason history to homer and double in the first 3 games of an NLDS.
I mean, I did not know that stat. I knew I had a great series. I did not know that stat. That's cool.
I got a lot of cool stats on you. You have a lot. You got some. You got some ink in the record book.
Dude, your 2014 postseason. I got it right here. Hold on. OPS over 1,000. All right. And the one thing I think if you're comparing that to the regular season, that's still great. But if you hit over 1,000 OPS in the postseason, there's no you never face a mop-up guy. You're facing a top 3 starter or a setup guy or a closer. That's it.
No doubt.
That is it. Even if you're up 8 or down 8, right? Like because they're taking the last 2 starters and they're putting those guys in the bullpen, and those guys instantly get better in the bullpen, right? And so you're facing, the guys, right? So in San Francisco, you're facing, Lincecum, Kane, all those guys. And then you get, Sergio Romo and maybe Jeremy Affeldt. That's it.
Yeah.
Brian Wilson,
early on. Yeah. So, I mean, you had 1,000 OPS. You had 4 bombs, 8 RBIs, 10 hits. You were 10 for 36 with 4 bombs, 4 doubles, 3 walks. I mean, you absolutely raked.
That was a fun postseason. I felt good. It's just like the thing about, this about hitting is like, you'll catch heaters. You get through a stretch where you're just feeling great at the plate, and man, that was one of them. I just felt like I couldn't miss. You get that one pitch. Because in those, facing those good guys, like you might get a pitch during that at bat, and if you miss it, it's over. And just going through a stretch where I wasn't missing them.
Yeah, I think you rode that heater into the next year. I don't know if you know this, but do you know, going into the All-Star game, your 3rd All-Star game at Petco Park, you were leading the NL in OPS with over 1,000 OPS.
That I knew.
Which is
I did
insane,
know that.
right?
Yeah.
Because you think OPS and you naturally think guys that hit a ton of home runs, right? Extra base hits and stuff. Obviously, you walked a ton, but I mean, there's some monsters in the game at, you know, a first base position or a corner outfield position, and you were the number one guy in OPS.
That was 2016?
2016.
So I think that for me, looking back on that season, 2016 was like, I think I kind of was like evolving as a hitter going through this time. So in 2013, I was more of like a gap-to-gap singles guy, had a bunch of doubles. 2014, in that postseason, I kind of like unlocked some power that I didn't really know I had. My swing was kind of evolving. I was catching balls a little further out front. Like I was, you know, kind of learning how to kind of hit homers, like drive the ball. In 2015 and 16, I was like evolving into like the complete, like I was still kind of hitting for high average and, you know, hitting a lot of doubles, but power starting to show up. 2016, I felt like I was putting it all together and having the best season of my career. And I thought that like if I was ever going to have a chance to actually, you know, finish, you know, at maybe win an MVP or be like that kind of player, that was the year. And I tore my oblique.
After the All-Star game, right?
Right before the All-Star game.
Oh, right before the All-Star game.
I didn't get to play in the All-Star game.
Were you an All-Star in 20? How were you not an All-Star in 2015?
So I got I started off the season red hot, was killing it, was probably going to, you know, be the All-Star third baseman. And then I got ice cold leading into the All-Star game and like ice cold and like kind of
2015 you led the National League in doubles.
You'd have to look it up. The 2 months prior to the All-Star game, I was terrible, and then I got red hot again at the end after the All-Star
you had a really good year that year. But let's go back. Let's go back to the NLCS 2014. I'm going to take you to a not fun spot. Travis Ishikawa.
Oh man,
dude, you guys are like in it, right? So this is Game 7, winner take all in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys have a lead at any point in that game?
I can't remember if we ever. It was certainly like a back and forth. I don't feel like we were ever out of it. If we had the lead, I can't remember, but I just know that, you know, what I take away from that moment and what I think about the most was like, you know, Michael Wacha, who had literally put us on his back the year before, was battling through some injuries and kind of came in like he wasn't the same and was fighting himself and like really shouldn't even have been in that position and ended up giving up that homer. And I just remember feeling so bad for him and like, you know, that was just a horrible thing for all of us, but specifically for him because, you know, he probably wasn't even healthy enough to be on the roster at that point. But you know, was such a grinder and such a competitor that he wasn't going to, you know, back down or say no from it, and ended up, you know, giving up that homer. And it was just kind of a huge bummer.
I'm sorry. It was Game 5. It was not Game 7. But it was just like another one of those just like daggers that really, really good Cardinals team. It was just like right there in 12, you run into the Giants. You know, you lose the World Series in 13. You're back at it. You got another shot in 14. You know, and you lose, you run into the Giants again, and they end up, you know, going on to win another one. At this point, are you guys, you know, because when you make like consistently deep playoff runs like this, man, like it's exhausting.
Oh yeah,
it is very difficult. I remember after the 2017 postseason, we went to the World Series in 17, lost in 7 games, and then we lost the next year to the Yankees. And I just remember having so much admiration for like those historic, like dynastic type clubs, like the Braves that were going every year. And then, you know, obviously the Yankees who went on those deep runs every year, because man, it is so difficult not to play in the playoffs, but to be able to play a Wednesday getaway day game at noon in May and show up and fight and grind, because like it's just different, right? When there's, you know, it's a getaway day in Cleveland at noon in May and there's 8,000 people in the stands and then you're like, hey guys, you got to go out there and give it everything you got. You're like, man, I'm kind of dragging my feet today, you know, but in order to get back to the postseason, you got to show up. Like you got to punch your ticket. So, I mean, you guys did that, but it was just, You guys seem to run into a buzzsaw like every single year.
I know it. It's yeah. I mean, that grind is real. That like emotional and physical toll that it takes to make long, deep postseason runs. It definitely lingers. Going into the next season, and yeah, I mean, it goes to show you just that stretch of how tough the NL was. We talked about a bunch on so far. It's like, and it's just, and I honestly, I don't think it ever goes away. I think it's still that way. I think that just the Major League Baseball, it's a tough place to win.
Did you guys feel like your window to win was closing?
It did feel that way because, some of the pillars and faces of that franchise were, starting to get older. Even though, and like Albert was gone, Matt Holliday was leaving, so yeah, I mean, we were able to kind of, make a few runs in later, like in 21 and in 19. 20 was a weird year with COVID, but yeah, I mean, it did feel like it. It did feel like it did feel. I don't know if necessarily I would say the window, but certainly like we had a stretch where we knew that like our best chance to win a World Series like was during that stretch.
Yeah, you guys had some really, really good young players that were coming up, right? That some of them just didn't have success, like Alex Reyes, right? Like he was a guy that was coming up, big super prospect, had the shoulder injury like a couple different times. You had Waka, he had the back injury. But one guy I want to talk about, and I feel like this guy doesn't, Oscar Taveras.
I knew you were about to say that.
Dude, he was going to be one of the next faces of the game.
Yeah.
And like, rest in peace. Like, when did that accident happen? Was that in the off season?
Yeah.
You were still with the club, obviously,
Oh, yeah.
right? Yeah. And so like you got to spend some time around him and in the big, because he had a little bit of big league time, right?
I mean, he had a homer in that postseason in 2014.
Oh, okay.
He was playing.
And he was a guy that was like, man, this guy's going to be, he could potentially be the next face of the franchise.
The organization thought that from like, and this is obviously big praise, but it just goes to tell you what they thought of this guy is that he was like going to be the next like kind of Albert hitter wise for that deal. I never got to play with him outside of that year when he got called up.
Yeah.
And he was, that during that year he was getting sporadic playing time, and granted he did have some success, but like anybody who played with him, like grinded through long seasons with him, all said the same thing, that he was the best hitter they'd ever seen.
Man,
and I had
so
multiple
sad,
people say that, like people that I respected, that I was like, this guy knows ball, say that. So like, yeah, it's a shame. We don't know, we never know what kind of player he could have became, but he was that would kind of might've even had some of the effect of like the next few years of us not being where, because, organizations pencil in,
yeah,
this is the next, and
it makes me think about like, there's three guys that I think about immediately that had major implications on the organization and their future. But Oscar Taveras was a guy, I'm sure that, they're looking at their system and who they got, and they're like, this guy is the one in the middle. He's the one we build it around, right?
Yep.
And then you look at Jose Fernandez in Miami, dude, like,
yep.
He was probably, his outing, he had a start against us in 2013, probably the best performance, like the nastiest stuff I'd ever seen. And the second was probably when Corey Kluber punched out 18 against you guys.
Dude.
He was filthy.
So gross.
He was really
you talking about 2013. So Matt Harvey and Jose were having those dominant years, like kind of finishing. It was going to be like whoever. We just so happened to have a road trip where we went from New York to Miami. So we faced Harvey on like Sunday, and we flew in to face Jose on like Monday. And I remember getting done with that. And no disrespect to Matt, he's great, but because the whole talk during that league is like, who's better, who's having the better year. I was like, this Jose Fernandez guy is
dude.
nasty.
He was toying with people.
This guy is so good, so gross. Like I do not like. It was whole nother level.
He was toying with people. You've seen guys who have like really filthy sliders. So like I play with Andrew Miller, and you get like, he would back foot a righty, and they would swing. They would take this like awful, gross sword swing, right, on a ball that like goes between their legs. Jose Fernandez was getting swings like that on like sliders down the middle, where guys were going I mean, he made them look like T-ballers. Like these are big league hitters, and he would just start messing around and just start throwing change ups and just like he was just filthy. And then the other guy I think about is Jordano Ventura and what he meant to the Kansas City Royals. And it's just, you know, like those three guys, man, like it's so sad. Like we lost those players, and the game of baseball like lost those players because they were like the future faces, right? Like the guys right now that we look around and we see like, you know, the Otanis, you know, obviously Trout's, you know, he's kind of like the old guard now, right? But the guys that are coming up, the Bobby Wood Juniors, you know, the guy Aaron Judges, like the faces, like those guys, they would be right there with them. Like that's the elite level talent. And so like when I was just looking through a lot of the players that you played with, because you played with some outstanding guys, and we love sharing stories about these guys that are going to be legends long after they're gone playing. But Oscar Taveras was one of those that was going to be that. I just think we haven't heard his name enough.
Yeah, I'm in the camp of guys that was pretty convinced that he was going to be a like. It's hard to say, you know. It's hard to sit like get on the same page as some of the people in the organization that thought he was going to be the next Albert, because that's really high praise. Yeah. But I will 100% say that this guy was going to be one of the top players in the game, and going to be really good. I mean, you could see the talent.
All right, I gotta ask you a couple questions, because I do want to get towards kind of the end of your Cardinals tenure and how you kind of reinvented yourself and had this amazing run in New York. But we didn't mention it as your teammate at TCU. Jake Arrieta was your teammate. Over 28 with 9 Ks off him, and he finally had a home run.
Dude, Jake.
Like, I know it's already difficult to face like a friend or a brother or a guy you played with and that's on another team, but Jake Arrieta was a Cy Young Award winner. So that's got to be extremely difficult to like face a buddy of yours, but this guy's also one of the best pitchers in the game. So, and at some point he probably knows he owns you.
Yeah. So Jake's a good friend. Jake was in my wedding, and you know, played college teammate, the whole deal. Like, but here's the thing that I don't think people realize. Like, this guy went through a stretch in Major League Baseball for the Chicago Cubs where he was doing that to everybody.
Everyone.
Like, I am not trying to take away from the fact that he owned me, and I will gladly say it. But like, dude, he was so good during that stretch that like like a lot of times you look back on numbers, I'm sure you have some guys that you're like, you faced that you're like, this guy wasn't that good. But every time, it seemed like every time I faced him, I was in a like bad spot. Like I was struggling. Like I was like, I wasn't seeing the ball well. I was coming off a slump. I faced him. I went into Chicago, Wrigley Field many times during that run that he was having where I was red smoking hot. And he still ate my lunch because he was that good. Like his ball and stuff was moving so well.
Man,
he was nasty. I couldn't hit him.
What was that feeling like when you finally squared one up and it left? Was that at home or on the road?
It was at home. And but again, like
did you pimp it?
Going back to that, like he was kind of ticking down, and his velo was down, the movement was down. He wasn't the same guy. He kind of started to get hurt. And when he turned into that guy, I crushed him. I killed him.
Dude, I would.
When he was that guy,
did you pimp it?
No.
Come on.
But when the ball was coming out like it was during those years, I mean, he threw like what, 2 no-hitters during that stretch? Yeah. I mean, he was unhittable.
Dude, that 2015 year too, because that was the year he beat Greinke out for the Cy Young. Greinke had like a 2.04 ERA, something ridiculous. And I remember like he basically had it in the bag, and then Arrieta went on a second half heater in 2015. Where he threw, like, he basically won the Cy Young. It was kind of like when CC Sabathia won it with Milwaukee. He won the National League Cy Young, and he wasn't in the National League until the second half.
I saw a weird,
it was crazy.
I saw some weird Twitter, you get these weird Twitter stats. I saw it recently, like, during that stretch, like, he had more homers than he gave up. He did. I think he probably hit 1.
Hey, I'm going to read you off some stats here, but I want to ask you one more thing before I read off some stats. Tell me a little bit about the idea behind donating $10,000 to every home run during Hurricane Harvey. And then what it meant to you that the Cardinals and Waino matched it.
Oh, man. So, growing up in Houston, seeing how that devastation affected everybody, and like hearing from friends and family that just lost everything, like it just felt like a no-brainer and something that I really wanted to do and was super motivated to do and wanted to have some kind of impact. And then for, Adam being the teammate that he is, like he, immediately jumped on board, which was just speaks volumes to the kind of guy he is and the person he is. And then for the Cardinals to do it, like that was the one that was like, that felt really cool. And yeah, I mean, that was like, a really neat time. And we were able to help a lot of people. And yeah, I mean, that was cool.
All right. I'm going to tell you, you may know these things or you might not know these things. First Cardinal player ever to have 5 hits, 5 runs, and 2 homers in one game. You know that?
I did know that one.
You did know that?
That was against Cubs, right?
Yeah.
And then all-time career leadoff homers, passing Lou Brock, 22, July 31st. You're the all-time leader of leadoff homers.
That's cool.
Yep. And then this is a crazy one. You may know this. You might not know this. You had 550 at-bats in what year was this? This was 2018. 2018. You never hit into a double play.
No way. How did you find all this out?
Well, the internet. And then I'll tell you this. Last one on this too. Between September 2017 and April 14, 2019, you hit 43 home runs before grounding into a double play. And that was a record that stood until Byron Buxton broke it.
Wow.
You just never hit the ball on the ground, did you?
You're not as fast as Byron Buxton, though.
No, he was beating it with speed. I was beating it with... Yeah, he's beating it with speed. I was beating it by not hitting grounders.
That's crazy. So, I mean, I do want to read this off because it's pretty incredible because you didn't have a very good September that year. But in 2018, you finished with 36 homers, 81 RBIs. You signed another 2-year deal to stay in St. Louis. Missed a lot of the year in 2019 with injuries. And then obviously the COVID year, kind of a weird year. And then you kind of get pushed into a backup role. The Cardinals go out and get Nolan Arenado, Tommy Edmonds up and coming. And this is kind of where our crosses path. And I don't know if you remember this or not.
Oh, dude, I remember it.
Do you remember this?
I hope you're going to bring this up.
Yeah. So Cody, you don't know this either. I saved this for you, but this is where our careers kind of crossed. My career was at a much different place than his was, right? I was still trying to stay in the game. I was still trying to like make money for my family. I was still trying to accomplish some goals that I had set for myself. One being reaching 10 years. I find myself in Oklahoma City and I'm playing against this guy in Round Rock. And I'm thinking, what the hell is this guy doing, man? This guy's made a ton of money. He's accomplished so much in his career. And we had a conversation at first base. And I think you were kind of on the verge of being like, okay, if they don't call me up, I'm just going to go home, right?
Yep.
And man, thankfully you didn't go home, right?
Yeah.
The Rangers didn't call you up. They released you out of your deal. The Yankees pick you up. And then you go on and have maybe the wildest stretch of your career in New York. But even before that, I want to ask you a little bit about that offseason. You seek advice from Joey Votto.
Mm-hmm.
You seek it, and you go out to Oklahoma and see Matt Holliday.
Yep.
What did those two guys? What was kind of the advice those two guys gave you? What were you still trying to chase or accomplish in your career at that point when you have accomplished so much in your career?
So, first of all, I have to say this because what you just said, I sensed it from you when we talked that you were like, "What are you doing?" I could sense it. You didn't say it, but I could sense it. And honestly, there were moments where I thought the same thing. I don't know if y'all had that during this time, but the lowest point was we just got done with the game there, and I went into the Round Rock like AAA stadium to shower after the game. No warm water, like just zero. Like stadium was out, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm driving like my family's back in Fort Worth. I'm grinding through this deal. But to answer the question, the long and short of it, so my time in St. Louis did not end like I felt like I should have. 2019, I was injured throughout the year, didn't play well. And then Tommy Edman came in and honestly, like he just flat out outplayed me. He's a great player, still is a great player. And he earned every bit of the playing time. And I started to lose that playing time to him. The COVID season happened. That was a funky season. But then 21, like you mentioned, we traded for Nolan Arenado. Paul Goldschmidt was our first baseman. Tommy Edman was playing second, and there's no DH. Like there's nowhere for me to play. And I still felt like I had like those 3 years that and it's all on me, didn't perform well. but I still feel like I could. I just didn't. I wasn't. Like, it wasn't, I didn't feel like I was old. I couldn't do it anymore. And I was on a mission to prove to myself that I could still do it. And I felt like I wanted to be able to go out and do it. So, it had nothing to do with anything other than that. Like, I didn't want my career to end that way. And so I was internally motivated to go do that. And so I went and kind of talked to Joey. Like, the conversations with Joey was like, man, how did you, because he kind of went through similar things, struggle, and then had a monster year. It's like, what did you do? And so he kind of gave me some of the stuff that he did. And then I went and seeked out Matt and went back with him. And, Matt was always a great teammate and a great mentor for me. He helped me a ton as a player early on in my career. You talked about some of the younger guys that took you under your wing. He was one of those guys. So now he's at home and he's got 2 stud, kids that he's working with every day, and he's at Oklahoma State. And I was like, what a great opportunity to go like spend some time with him. So spent that off season with him, hitting with him, spending a bunch of time, and kind of got to where I felt like my swing was really good. I go home that off season. Go ahead. Do you have a question?
No, I was just going to ask you. You mentioned those 2 boys. Like, you could see it when you were there. Like,
oh my
these
gosh.
kids are different.
100%. Like, they were
it's got to be like a humbling feeling. And I had a very humbling experience, probably similar to yours. I was probably 2, 3, 4 years into my career, and we would go to this place in Tampa where St. Pete in the off season we would go hit, and Bo Bichette was in there. He was still in high school, and it was like myself, Chris Colabello, Ryan Goins, Troy Tulowitzki, and this kid Bo Bichette, who is a senior in high school, just out hitting all of us. Like, that's when like all the tech was coming out too. So like, it wasn't visually he was better than us. It was like, no, the numbers were saying he was hitting the ball harder than us.
Yeah, the hit tracks likes him a lot more than you.
And Dante was in there throwing to us, and he was a machine throwing. But like, you're like, wait, this kid's a senior in high school, and he hits the ball harder than me. And Troy Tulowitzki's there, and Chris Colabello's just coming off a year. He hit 340 in the major leagues, and this kid is hitting the ball harder. It was insane.
That's exactly what it was. They had a hit tracks in there. Ethan's his freshman, Jackson's his senior. And I'm in there trying to grind my way back to the big leagues, and they're smacking the ball, making me feel like I'm like, man, maybe I should retire. If this is what's coming, like, I need to get out of the game right now.
Man, I'm glad you guys persevered through it, because the second I found myself in a situation like that, I went home.
Yeah,
I went home. I found myself in a very similar situation like that at the it's called the Florida Baseball Ranch. The Twins sent me there. And it was like this like velo training place and all this stuff. I'm getting pumped up. We're doing pull downs, all this stuff. There's like a junior comes running up like 94. Another kid comes up like 94. Another kid comes up like 96. I run. I throw it as hard as I can. I rip it into the net. I fall on my face. 89. My last throw of the day. I went home.
Dude, it's humbling when you see some of these young guys and their freak athletic skills. But yeah, I mean, so he went down there and hit with him, and then man, that offseason I actually got some phone calls, got some big league deals to like probably 3 or 4 teams that I had, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but just no interest in going to play for. And like,
yeah,
I had, to that point in my career, I had played I played at one place the whole time, and we were, for the most part, perennial postseason teams, and these teams were not that. And I was like, I'm not just going to go do this to do this. I want to do this. If I'm gonna sign with anybody, well, that is in that room, I'm going to do it at home. I'm going to I'd rather play in Texas. Like, I'm going to live at home with my family and do that. It's the only reason. Otherwise, I'm just going to go home. So my agent is like kind of, at the time, kind of probably bummed out. Like, I'm turning some guarantee money down from some of these teams. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to go play in Texas. And he's like, well, they haven't called you. Like, he's like, just call them. I'll come for nothing. So long story short, he calls them. They're like, well, yeah, I mean, we'd love to have him in the camp, but we got, give him a minor league deal. We have no guarantees. He's like, he'll come. So I go to minor league camp. It's the year that we're the lockout, the owner's lockout. So camp's like 2 weeks long. I get to camp. I don't have any time to like make an impression. But like, I'm good in the locker room, enjoying being around the younger guys and like making an impression that way. But like, as far as playing goes, I hadn't really get a chance to play. So I go the last day, they're about to break, and John Daniels and Chris Young and the manager at the time call me in the office, and they're like, hey, we don't have a spot for you. What do you want to do? Like, he's like, we do have a spot in AAA if you're interested. And I was like, yeah. I'm in. And they're like, what? Like, didn't think I was going to say yes. I was like, I'm in. Like, I want to go play. And I was like, do you think there's a real opportunity to get called up here? And they're like, yeah. I mean, if you go down there and it looks right, like, we'll call you up. I'm like, great. Well, I'll go do it. So I go down there and I play well. And a couple weeks goes by and, I reach out like, hey, is there, is this going to happen? Oh yeah. Kind of just wait type thing. Like you got to, this was the year, it was June 1st. Remember this?
Yeah. I ran into the same situation as you. I think that's when we saw each other. So for people that don't know, spring training was shorter that year. Typically you have to have 13 position players, 13 pitchers.
Yeah.
Since spring training was so short, they allowed teams to carry 14 pitchers, 12 position players. And it was supposed to be for the first month of the season. A lot of us, I won't say us, more you, I'm kind of in that boat, but more veteran guys that were on minor league deals, you have opt-outs in your contract. And the Dodgers were very upfront and honest with me. And they told me probably similar to what Texas told you. After the first month, when the roster's even out, you will be our guy. You will be the 13th guy called up. For whatever reason, Major League Baseball decided, maybe because there was injuries or pitchers weren't pitching as long, they weren't built up enough, they allowed that to carry over to the second month. So the Dodgers called me and said, hey, this is where we're at. We're going to carry the extra pitcher. We'd love for you to stay. We understand if you want to leave. And I was like, no, I want to play for the Dodgers. I'll stay. I'm sure you ran into a similar situation.
Very similar. Like that was the thing. Like I was waiting for that moment. Like I was gonna be that guy. Well, like I'm playing really good also. And, but like, I'm also looking around and like this AAA team in Round Rock, you forget like, so this was 2022. The Rangers won the World Series the very next year.
Yeah.
2023. A lot of the core young guys were in that AAA team.
Yeah.
And the big league team, a lot of those guys on that 22 big league roster weren't even on that roster in 23. So I'm like also aware that there's some young kids in here that they probably want to call up. So they never flat out said like, oh, it's yours, it's June 1st, but they kind of like made it seem like I was in the running. Yeah. So as we get closer to June 1st, I'm like, I'm playing great. I mean, I'm swinging the bat well. Like I know I'm like locked in, ready. I know I can perform at the major league level. And so I call Chris Young. It's like 2 or 3 days before June 1st. And I'm like, dude, I just need you to be honest with me. Like, is this going to be like the thing? This is strictly just because I'm doing a lot that I don't need to do. Like my family's at home. I putting a lot of stress on them and myself, like this traveling back and forth. And if this is it, like I'm fine with it being it. Like I will go home and retire, but I do need an honest answer. And he's like, man, we're not going to be able to do it. And so I'm like, that's
who
great.
ended up being that guy?
I can't remember. It might've been Leody Tavares.
Okay.
If I had to guess. But I'd have to go back and look. But so that happens, and he's like, man, what do you want me to do? You want me to call other teams? And I'm like, no, man, I'm good. Like, I appreciate the honesty. Like, I'm in my eyes, like I truly, and this is where I was at. I went back down there. I played really well. Granted, it wasn't the big leagues, but I finished like playing well. Like I swung the bat really good. Like, I was happy with where my career was at. I wasn't going to go chase a bunch of, teams down and play and do all this stuff. I was good. I told him, don't worry about it. Like, I'm going to go retire. I went home. My wife and I went to dinner. We were basically like celebrating like a career. And that night, it's like 2 days after that phone call with Chris Young, I get a phone call from Brian Cashman, and he wants me to be in Tampa Bay like the next day. And I was like,
and it's a big league deal.
Big league deal. And it's the only team in Major League Baseball at that time in my life that would have got me off the couch was the New York Yankees. I mean, it's not only is it the New York Yankees, but at the time they were the number one. They had the best record in baseball. This was June. I don't remember the date. June something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was May 26th.
May 26th. So late May, they had the best record in baseball. They had the best player in the game at the time, Aaron Judge, who went on to break Roger Maris's record that year. And so it was like, man, yeah.
Was there an injury or something? Do you remember what the need was?
I got there, and Aaron Hicks Josh Donaldson was hurt, and Stanton was hurt, and Aaron Hicks was like day to day and not on the deal. Like one of those things where like he's hurt, but like we haven't DL'd him. So they were just in shambles. And I get to the locker room. I'll never forget. I walk into the manager's office. Hey, Booney, how you doing? Hey, good to see you, Carp. Thanks for being here. You're not in there, whatever. Go get acclimated. So I go to the locker. I'm like saying hi to a couple guys, and like I'm doing the media. They're all in front of me. I'm still in my street clothes. It's like 5:55, 7:00 first pitch.
Yeah.
And by the time I like flown in and got there, and then he the traveling secretary comes and grabs me in the middle of the interview, and he's like, "Hey, Booney needs to talk to you." Calls me in the office, like, "Hey, Hicksy can't go. You're in there." So I'm in there now. I just got there. I hadn't even met everybody yet, and so like now I'm in the lineup, and I ended up. I like played that game, had good at bats. I don't think I did anything. Then the next day I homered, was in the lineup again, homered, and then just kind of got off to a roll.
Yeah, you went 6 homers in 10 games.
Got off to a good start.
Crazy.
And you had a 7 RBI game against the Red Sox, first Yankee outfielder since Joe DiMaggio to do that. And then the 13 home runs in the first 30 games was a Yankees franchise record. Were you aware of that?
No. That's cool though.
Let me read off these stats right here. Dude, you played in 47 games, okay? You had a 2.4 WAR. And so for those that's a wins above replacement. Okay, that is a stat that is used by a lot of front offices to measure like your overall value on the game, right? An MVP caliber player is going to get
8.
I'd say like 10. 10 over a full season. An all-star is going to have, like your all-star years, 2013, the highest WAR you ever had in a year was 6. And that was a full season. In a third of a season, you had 2.5.
It's crazy.
So essentially, for those 47 games, you were the 2013 superstar for the St. Louis Cardinals. And that was at, 36 years old after, you were literally at your retirement dinner with your wife. And you're like, you know what? Yeah, I'll go play. So yeah, you go 47 games.
Break your foot, right? Foul ball?
Yeah.
That was devastating.
It was, man.
15 bombs.
I mean, obviously, then
games.
we're reading off the numbers. 13 homers, 30 games, everything he had just mentioned right there. Even at age 36, is that the best baseball you were playing?
I think so. I mean, like, I had some stretches offensively in, like, you talked about 18. I had some stretches in 16, but like, and granted, some of it was ballparking, like the Yankee Stadium for me. Like that might be like if you could design like the perfect ballpark for me as my swing profile to hit, that's it. That's like the best one. If you want to design the worst one for me personally, it's probably Busch Stadium. Busch Stadium is like not a good offensive ballpark for a left-handed hitter. But so like I was granted like feeling good, swinging good, in a good place. But man, that ballpark really helped a lot.
Dude, every ball that goes in the air, there's a pitcher. You're just holding your breath.
Man, and like what people don't realize, unless you played this game, is that like if I go have 4 great at bats at Busch Stadium and 2 of them, and I end up 0 for 4 with 3 great swings that maybe ended up at the warning track.
Yeah.
A lot of time, the difference that it does mentally, like when that same day is 2 for 4 with 2 homers at Yankee Stadium, what that does for you mentally and carries over for the next month is so huge.
Yeah.
Even though the swings were the exact same and the way you took the at bat was the exact same, that result matters.
100%.
And so like, especially at the end of my time in St. Louis, where like your bat speed gets down a little bit, your exit velo goes down a little bit, those balls that used to go to the 3rd or 4th row are now at the track, like, and those used to be 2 for 4 days with a homer and a double are now 0 for 4 days, like they start to pile up on you. Well, then you get this fresh breath of life at Yankee Stadium where those 2 for 4 days, like I had so many days that like end up 2 for 4 with a homer that were like kind of whatever, and then just kind of like I felt like I hit that okay and had a decent at bat. And then when you like have a day where you put it it was 4 for 4 with 2 homers and a double, and you're like, what a great place to hit.
Yeah. Dude, speaking of great place to hit, what was it like watching Judge that year? Because that was the year he hit 60, right?
62.
Yeah.
62. Yeah. 62. Yeah.
I never seen anything like it. I mean, just when people ask me about that season, this is what I tell them. it was the most impressive thing I've ever seen a professional baseball player do, really maybe athlete, because he's playing in the biggest market in the world. New York City, New York Yankees, the pressure that comes with that. He is chasing one of the best records in professional sports, like the single season home run record. Like he's doing it on a first place team. But what people forget is he was doing that also on like the biggest contract year of his life.
Yeah.
He was a free agent, and he was doing it in a contract year. And like he did that like while stealing bases and jumping over walls to make plays.
Yeah, I think at some point he went and played center field.
Field.
Yeah,
Like he
which
was.
I know firsthand is not an easy position. It's very taxing on your body.
It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. And to do it as, we talked about him as a teammate, like he's just, I've got nothing but great things to say
There's a
about
few guys that, like when they're around, like everyone, we talked about earlier, like everyone's watching, right? Like the first time I ever saw Stanton hit BP was like in 2013, like in Miami. And like, it literally looked like he was hitting Pro V1s. We're all like, everybody's like, our pitching coach comes out there and is like trying to get all the bullpen guys to like not watch, like, guys, don't watch this. You'll be okay. Like, let me come protect you. Just like herding like little sheep, But Judge was the same way, and Ohtani was the same way. So, and I know you played with Albert, but like you show up at this cathedral that is Yankee Stadium, and you walk out there and you got 99 up there hitting BP, and you're like, dude, I'm not done. I got 5 more years in me. Like, you got to be thinking like, dude, I'm playing until I'm 43 at least.
Dude, the adrenaline was definitely high. I mean, putting on that uniform in general, like walking in that clubhouse and putting that uniform on, that also led to, I think, that kind of resurgence. Is like there was such a fresh like breath of life there. Not like, playing. I had never experienced anything else. I had played my whole time in St. Louis, and then now here I am in New York City with the Yankee pinstripes on, and it's just like, man, it just reignited me. And not to mention I had that chip on my shoulder to prove to people that I could still do this. So like all those things combined, it just made for a really special year, and I got to do it in a really cool, place with some great people.
Did part of you, like, as you're hitting like homer after homer after homer, where you're just like, man, the Rangers could really use my bat right now?
I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't have a little bit of
100% you did.
animosity
Dude, you don't have to
towards
be
them.
modest. Like,
I want to ask a question on that too, because you talked about it being the most impressive season you've ever seen, given the context of everything he was going through. But on a much smaller scale, I mean, shit, you hit 13 homers in 13 games. You hit 6 in your first 10 games. Could you almost relate to what he was going through at the end of the year? Like, do you think you ever got to a point where everyone in the ballpark was expecting you to hit a home run because you were doing it so often? And then obviously you came back to earth a little bit, but he's having to do this every single day. Like when people watch on TV, where people go to the ballpark, you're expecting Aaron Judge to hit a home run.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I that was for sure. I would think to myself, like, I would feel that pressure, especially when I came back from that foot injury. Like I got hurt and I make the postseason roster and I'm coming back, and like they're just assuming like that I'm gonna turn right back into that guy, which like in my own mind, like it's not realistic. So you start to think about like with Aaron, like a guy who, like you said, every time he gets in the box, everybody in that ballpark not only expects but assumes that he's gonna do it. Like to do it as consistently he does, it's just next level. I mean, it's just a freak, It's just so talented.
All right, I'm gonna. I know he's got a couple questions for at the end, but I just want to kind of wrap this up with. You have this amazing summer in New York. Obviously, the foot injury kind of puts it a little bit to the stop. You get a chance to play in the postseason. You get an opportunity to sign with the Padres the next year. I know it doesn't go very well. I guess my question to you is, after having that bad year with the Padres, I think you get traded to the Braves, released, and then you get a chance to finish your career as a Cardinal. How meaningful was that for you, even though maybe those last 59 games didn't go the way you probably wanted them to go? Just the chance to put that Cardinal uniform on and, I guess right off into the sunset wearing a Cardinals uniform.
To me, that was like that. I look back on my career, and to me, that like the ultimate highlight was to finish where it started. I mean, I was heartbroken the way it ended in St. Louis. Like, I was a guy who thought, like, the way my career had gone the first 10 years there, I just assumed that was going to be the first jersey I ever put on, the last, retire as a Cardinal, finish my career there. And, it didn't work out that way. And so when 21 happened, and I actually had an option on my contract, and I knew they weren't going to pick it up. It was for way too much money, and I hadn't performed, but was hopeful that, bring you back on something smaller, or just, but the no interest and kind of moving on was heartbreaking. And so to, then go out and kind of start my career and have that good, season in New York. And then it turns into another 2-year deal to continue to play baseball. To finish it where it started in St. Louis is like, I look back on everything that I was able to accomplish. Like, that is the highlight for me. To that year, just being back in the place where, all the relationships that I built, and really like fans and people who work at the stadium, and just, my kids like were born and raised in St. Louis. Like, it was a perfect ending to what I would have never imagined of the kind of career that I could have.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, super cool. Great, unbelievable organization. And they're going to be putting a jacket on you here pretty soon. They're, Cardinals Hall of Fame. Like, I can't see why you wouldn't be there. And there's some legends of this game that'll be in the same breath as you, all in that organization. So that's awesome. What a way to go out. Got a few questions here.
Quick hitters.
Yeah, quick hitters. Game on the line, winner take all. Who are you picking? You played with all these guys. Albert, Judge, Soto, or Freeze?
I threw in Freeze.
And a winner take all.
I think I threw in Freeze. I think
winner take all, one at bat.
I got to say Albert.
Albert. Okay. Nastiest pitcher you ever faced?
Man, this is going to be a weird one for maybe, but for me, it was the nastiest pitcher I ever faced. Francisco Liriano during his stretch in Pittsburgh.
Dude, he was really nasty.
I couldn't hit him, man.
He was.
I think Jake Arrieta would say different, but
yeah.
I can't, because he's my buddy. I can't say.
I know. Yeah.
I can't say Jake.
Nastiest pitcher not named Jake. All right. Last question. Bigger rivalry: Cubs, Cardinals, Yankees, Red Sox.
It's different. They're different. I'm gonna have to probably say Yankees, Red Sox.
Really?
Yeah.
What's different about it?
Is it anger?
I feel
hatred. Hatred. I feel like I don't know. And this is me just going in as a visiting player to St. Louis. They love their team there, but they love baseball. They get it.
Yeah.
I've been applauded as a visiting player of like making a nice play. They understand like the intricate parts of the game. You move a runner where most people are like, oh, he made an out. They're like, they get the game. So I could imagine that the St. Louis Chicago rivalry is built out of still respect.
Yeah.
Where I feel like the New York Boston is just pure hatred.
I think that's a fair statement. And also, this is another opinion. I don't know how factual it is, but I feel like I ran into a lot more people that were like kind of split families. Like my dad's a Cardinal fan, but my mom's a Cub fan, or like, like my uncle, he cheers for the Cardinals, but my cousins are, they're Cubs fans, but like there's none of that. Like
you're not marrying each other.
No, Yankees.
It's like one of the first questions you ask when you're going to date. Red Sox, Yankees.
Exactly.
Like, oh, you're out.
It's like Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the hatred thing. There's a little bit more hatred. I mean, but that's not to say that the Cubs Cardinals rivalry isn't rich with history and serious. I mean, we want to beat those guys, but I think I'd have to say Yankees Red Sox.
All right, I gotta ask you one more. I know I said one, but I gotta ask you one more. Best player in the game today, not named Ohtani.
I would say Judge. Yeah.
All right, sorry. I have one more question because it led me there, and then I'll wrap this thing up. You've been more than generous with your time. This episode, I think people are going to get so much stuff out of, like your career arc, the way you were raised, the things you had to overcome, the fact that you thought multiple times in your career, you thought it was just over. You know, the fact that your aunt called you to tell you your journey was going to continue, you know, after college, is inspiring. Hopefully the people that listen to this show, the kids, the parents out there understand, like, we're really trying to share the information that it's not a linear path. No one's journey, not nobody. There's very few people's journey start, you know, here, and it's this rise to stardom. You know, everyone kind of has to go through their ups and downs. Everyone kind of finds their footing in this game at a different, you know, time in life. But I guess my last question to you, given the fact that we just lost him, John Sterling, did you have a home run call? Do you have a home run call? Do you know?
I mean, I'm sure. Yeah.
I got to look it up.
Do I have one? Do I have one saved like that I could go like listen to right now? No, but I would love.
I wonder what he did when you were on that streak. You know, because I think about all of his historic calls, like the Stantonian home run, Judgment Day,
the Judgian blast.
Yeah.
Right? Oh man. I'm trying to think if I had a little. You gotta if you gotta get it sent to me.
Yeah.
Hey, can I just say something? You guys, I before you even invited me, I've been listening to the shows before I ever got invited. Y'all are doing a great job.
Are you subscribed?
Y'all are doing a great job. No, but I will.
You better hit the subscribe.
Y'all are doing a great job. It's fun to listen to. Can I plug my baseball apparel brand?
Of course.
Please do. Okay, so we got a baseball apparel brand, 643 Baseball. Our motto is "Stay Gritty," which
love it.
You know, we talked about this today. Grit was a huge piece of my career. It's something I try to instill to the kids that I coach, and it's something that I want, you know, for my own kids. I think you guys can agree when it comes to baseball, like grit is probably the most important factor that you would want in a baseball player. And so 643 Baseball, you know, we're excited about the brand and where it's going. So thanks for letting me share it.
Dude, heck yeah, man. Send us the link, and can we put the link on? Yeah,
we'll put the link on
the page. So only if you subscribe, though.
I'm subscribed.
All right. Hey, dude, I can't thank you enough. Man, what an awesome career. Played against you. Had the honor of sharing the field with you a couple times. It was unbelievable. That's another episode to the majors. If you like what we're doing, you like these episodes, you want us to bring us on more guests, please hit the subscribe button. And also, too, in the comments, you know, throw some names down there that you want to hear from, and we'll try and get those guys, and we'll try and just bring you some great baseball content and baseball stories. But that's another one.